We are live. We are live. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Quite a few Russians in the crew today. Popple, welcome. Dennis, 40 foot. I'll take a glass of that Sangiovese, por favor. Good morning, Nog. How are you, brother? Dennis, Dominic, hello, hello. Atlanta checking in. How is Atlanta right now? Is it calmed down weather-wise, or is it still your typical summer humidity? We had rain all weekend, so we are in the fall weather. 2FS. Good evening, my friend. Sean, joining the stream for the first time, 9 p.m. in the UK. So looking forward to seeing the day out with some painting. You got it. Thomas, hello. Welcome. DC in the house. Pete Toohey, how you doing, man? Getting ready for a big week for you guys. In for a treat, Sean. Yeah, hope so. We'll see how that goes. No pressure, right? You guys are killing me. Yeah, football all morning. My Steelers are probably not going to pull it out. I don't know. They need a touchdown here in the last few minutes, so I have to cut. I might have to switch the stream time another 30 minutes past to get the full morning. That's why I moved it an hour so we could get the NFL games in the morning done. But I'll see. Maybe I'll adjust that. Arnell, hello. How you doing, buddy? And thank you, Arnell. You've been a fantastic supporter recently. I appreciate all the book orders and stuff. That's really nice of you. Yeah, hit that like button, guys. Do all your YouTube chores. I appreciate it. Subscribe. Hit the bell icon for notifications. Channel's going good. Things are going well as far as channel go. We got some news to share today, so we'll get through greetings, and then we got a lot to talk about. Today will be a busy stream, actually. I got a feeling it's going to be a full conversation. Privet to all my Russian friends out there. There's a lot of you. Eugene, I see you. You're in Siberia, my friend. You are. Yeah. You guys won't be able to, unless you can read Cyrillic. The gentleman with the Russian name is Eugene, and he is a teacher in Russia. And this is a really nice story. He wrote me on Facebook that he's a history teacher in Russia, and he shares the streams with his students with the painting and weather and stuff like that. So I thought that was really nice. So welcome, Eugene. I know it's a crack of dawn for you, wherever wherever in Siberia you're at. But this is the wonder of technology, isn't it? I got Kiwis, I got Russians in Siberia, I got my boys in Atlanta. I know there's a few Portland dudes lurking around. I'm sure Rick will show up and a few other guys. So Sylvain, Zal, Jimmy Jams, hit the like button. James Lynn, hello, Val, Arnell, Arnreal. Sorry, I said that wrong. Man King Productions, Wayne, right? You're Wayne. Patriots win. Yeah, that was a pretty straightforward. That was a practice game for you guys today. Typical Belichick rushing the Jets. Scotty Scale Studio, greetings to you all. Ready to hang out. You're mailing me my wine. Thank you, 40 foot. Patrick Stout. Off foot? How do you say that, Patrick? Foot Air Force Base? Where's that at? Off foot? That's a weird name. Are you overseas? You think I know? Like an Air Force kid. You think I'd know? But then my brain is a little bit old, so we'll excuse. Hello, Stam, how you say your name? Martin James, hello. Brian Matthews, hello from UK. Welcome. Drew Wheeler, hey Mike, looking forward to the streams. Can't wait to get my TA books. Also looking forward to the King Art oils and brushes on your recommendation. You will be your bench will be happy when that all happens. Let's see. Let's first off, if you have a question regarding anything, scale modeling, whatever, put that question in the chat. Put the word question followed by your question so I can catch that. If you're new to the stream, this chat gets rolling pretty fast, so I'll get my head down working. So I like to pop up and I can catch those a little bit easier. I don't get them all, but I catch a lot of them. Xavier Ruiz, hello, hola amigo. Panzer Dan, there he is. Oh God, he got more King Art packages. No more King Art patches. Actually, the one I did order was supposed to be here yesterday. UPS lied to me and said they attempted delivery, which is off out. Thank you, Patrick. That's what I thought. I was like trying to, my tongue was like, wait, what are you doing? Omaha, Nebraska. Okay. All right, that's fair. Bomber base? All right. Nebraska. Yeah, I watched the anniversary game of the 50th anniversary of the game of the century, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Yeah, big college day yesterday. The weekends with football. Greg Mix, hola. Kyle Hilliam, good day from New Zealand. Oh, another Kiwi. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of you guys will probably enjoy what's going on with the this thing. So Pavel, the first guy in the chat up there, Pavel Alexei, I think that was the gentleman who was part of Tank Encyclopedia. I'll put that up, that video up, and the link's in the description. If you guys haven't seen the YouTube, what has happened or what is happening is just a refresher of this model got a pass through on a YouTube channel that does the history of all the armored vehicles that were made, not made, so on and so forth. And this tank is kind of occupies a really weird space in the conversation. So we'll talk about it a little bit today. John Buns, hi all. Paul DeToe, welcome from Kansas. Juan Pablo, hola. Every time I see Juan Pablo, I just say JPM in my head. I don't know if he's still driving. Was he driving IndyCar, NASCAR? M Lols, hello. How are you, buddy? I don't know how to say your name. I just call you M Lols. Is that all right? Michael Koff. I'm in this Nebraska. Yep. You know, you think I know my grandma's from Lincoln, Nebraska. You think I know that shit. I apologize, my friends. And if there's anything I wish upon, that is that the Cornhuskers return to prominence. That would be a very special thing to see happen. That's a tough game to watch because, man, I tell you, it's so true what they talk about. One step forward, two steps back. So I feel that every day of RSP. Rosso, hello. There's another of my privet. Hello. One of my Russian friends, Mike Perez. Reinhards, hello from Latvia. Nice. Welcome. Wim Van Hoel, how are you? Good evening from Belgium. Yay. Get some Belgian friends in here. Super Dry Beef. What's up, bud? How you doing, man? I just assume you make beef jerky or something like that, or you just love bacon or something. You're in the beef industry, I hope. Let's see what else. I say hello to everybody. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's a good Sunday here. Fall weather in Portland, Pacific Northwest. We have cooled down a little bit. Chris Corsa, hello. Arnaud, hello. Greg Riley, Bryce. Bonsoir. Mon ami. Yeah, things are going well. Lots to talk about today. This showed up. This guy showed up about 2 hours ago. I tell you what, man, this was the longest FedEx delivery I've seen in a while. But I know they're struggling a little bit with drivers and getting stuff off the truck. It has shown me deliver. It is shown on the truck for 3 days straight. So it showed up this morning on a Sunday. I'm like, okay. The All Blacks have really sharp looking apparel. Yes, they do. I would imagine they probably look pretty pimp in the All Blacks. Yeah, and I know from what Nog has told me they're doing. I think you guys are having a good season, right? Hello, Sinova. I think that's Vivian, if I remember correctly. How you doing? Did my Steelers win, guys? I don't care about the scores in terms of keeping it quiet. So I've watched most of the game. So if anybody give me a run on that one, I think the Raiders probably going to hold on. But it's a good team, by the way. I think the Raiders are legit. That's going to be a team you're not going to want to play, at least while they're healthy anyway. What else we got? All right. Was it a little after? Yeah, we'll give a few more minutes, let people roll in. Every season is a good season for the All Blacks, right, Kyle? Yeah. You guys are diehards. I love that. Everything sound good? Music sound good? I sound good? Noise, voices, everything's fine? Everybody good? Everything's okay? Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll clean that up. I'll have to clean that up after the stream. I was probably typing too fast. I don't think I can do that live. Well, let me see. I'll see if I can do that. My name here. See if I can do that while we're talking. Yeah, so the first bit of the news today is I have officially launched the Patreon stream page, I guess you call it, right? Patreon page. So that is officially open. Let me go into, thank you for that heads up. I appreciate that. And where am I looking for? To go to YouTube page. Let me go to my studio page here on the back. Give me a sec. Let's see if I can figure this out. You'll probably have to hit refresh after I do this. Let's see if I can get this working. I've never edited something while we're live, so hopefully I don't fuck this up. Okay, hold on 1 second here. Clicking stuff on screen and behind the camera here. Let's see, details. Okay. Oh, you are wait, where is it? Is it doing that? thought I put that in correctly. It looks like it's typed in correctly. Maybe I misspelled it. Okay, save that. Okay, you may have to refresh on your end. Quit Safari, get out of that. Okay, I think that worked. Okay, we're still here. Not too bad. That's the beauty. So I stream through Chrome. Most of the streaming services, software, apps, and stuff like that of that nature don't work with Safari. Being an Apple guy, native Safari user. Yeah, thank you for that, Pansy. I figured they were going to pull on that one. We didn't play very well on offense, I think, personally. But what else we got? Andrea, Italian modelers are here. Welcome. Sound check is good. Good to hear. Okay, hit the refresh and then check description. My name here if you can. I'd appreciate that favor and see if that link is popped back up. Correct. That way that link should be working now. Okay, let's give it a few more minutes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We fixed that on the fly. That's a good day right there. Do that with no stress and get that fixed and then pop that back up. That's a good coach. Juan Pablo Ledesma is one of the best. Not so great as a coach. Is that regarding which team are you talking about, Juan Pablo? Did I miss the connection on that one? Dennis says dinner will be late. I'm now putting all dishes away. Mike is on. I love it. Skipping your chores. Is that what you're doing? You guys are funny. Yeah, sports fans. Love you guys. Okay, let's see here. I also have a Patreon. I'm trying to do things. StuG III about to start a Cromwell 48 scale. Our rugby national. Oh, okay. Argentinian. Okay. While I've got you, Juan Pablo, for a second. I know there's a resin kit, but correct me if I'm wrong. Nobody has announced a plastic Argentinian TAM medium tank, have they? I know there's a resin kit out there, but there is not a plastic kit in 35th scale. Am I correct in that? Like TACOM or Mang have not announced anything for Argentina in terms of the TAM medium tank. Martin James, yes, I believe so. In fact, it all goes through my PayPal, so I do believe that is a PayPal payment link in the Patreon. Okay, so let's go ahead and get you. Yeah, I would say PayPal is, because that's how I have it set up, and that's how it goes through. So I'm sure on the portal side on your end, it just gives you an option and you select it, I think. Excuse me. Danny, hello from Belgium. Greets. Still pissed off about Spa. I was bummed that was a rained out. Yeah, I've seen the Ducal Hobbies. I've not been able to find one or anything like that. I'm not keen on a resin kit, to be honest with you. I'm kind of just hoping somebody really puts a surprised there isn't a plastic version yet of the Argentinian tank. Rick's been doing the oils for a while. The 502 guys and everybody at AK, we're familiar with our techniques and stuff. And so probably what you won't see is Rosso's probably them calling it by OPR or anything like that. That seems to be what I see in the greater landscape of competitive hobby companies and stuff of that nature, is they don't really give credit or favor to other companies per se. That's not the end of the world. I don't really care. You guys all know what's up. Even Rick does. He knows what's up. He's a good guy. Dominic, yay for tips. You're welcome. Okay, let's get going. Yep, smash the like button. Do all that fun stuff. And let's open this conversation with, first up, I'll put this on screen just so you guys got something to look at for a second. But yeah, I did launch the Patreon page a couple days ago. The link is in the description below the video title. And if you don't, it's just patreon.com/Rinaldi Studio Press. Currently, right now, it's set up as a general support page of just basically $10 a month, and it's just I support RSP. The guys have already started to get a little bit of insider stuff going right now. It's only been a couple days. I think it's literally been like 3 days. But one thing I will say, and not that they're listening or anything like that, but that's an interesting question. I'll give you a little heads up there, Danny. Patreon is the first of the big tech companies, including Apple, including Facebook, /Instagram, YouTube, everybody else. Patreon is the first company I've actually talked to somebody on the phone where when I signed up as what they call a content creator, which is their language for that, even though I'm RSP, a publisher, and all that kind of thing. they immediately set up a phone call with you with a human. And the guy's here. He's actually in. He was in LA, Los Angeles, and then they set me up with the second part of their team in San Francisco. I'm lucky I'm on the West Coast, so I was lucky to be able to set this all up for Friday. It was really nice, like a warm welcome, but also an insight to how it works, what they're looking for, what I'm looking for as a company, like what is my goals with Patreon long term, what's the purpose of it, and all this kind of stuff. And so they're going to work with me directly, and I appreciated that. And that's not a service, that is part of the package. You sign up, it comes with the deal. So that was really nice. I just wanted to throw that little bit of info and love out there. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but I wish YouTube had done that, because I had to fumble for weeks to figure all this out. So, but anywho, just letting you know, the link is in the description. And with Patreon, what I think I'm going to be doing with it, just to briefly touch on it, and we'll promote it more as we move along a little bit as I get things set up, is I think it'll be a bit of behind the scenes for the basic stuff. A little bit on the obvious side, doing some behind the scenes stuff. But what I'm going to probably start doing almost immediately is its own dedicated content. So those that support through Patreon will get their own model building. And I think, honestly, I'm going to put the E100 through that process and see how it goes. I'm going to put the refurbishment, this model, which is a segue into that conversation, bring this model back to life. I've held on to it for a long time. Obviously, it's the OG of OG what ifs, literally. And it's kind of a cool thing. And I think that'll be a nice, reward, if you will, for how that works. On top of which, I think the other big news for my Patreon will be what we're going to call probably a coaching level service of tutoring. I haven't introduced it yet. It's not up there, but what we'll probably do is a much higher price tier, but it'll be a one-on-one with me. And we'll set up a schedule. And I'd imagine it's a service you'll probably turn on and off as you need it. It won't be something you pay month in and month out, even though you can, which, that's up to you. But realistically, a tutoring service is, like a music session, you're paying for my time for a couple hours, and we're going to go through your work or whatever it is you're looking to do, from your end. And there's a few of you out there that want that. So I will offer that, because I have been approached before, and a few of you in the chat, we've done some one-on-one work with as well. So it's something I'm comfortable now. They've got the camera set up and all this is working fine. We've got the whole Dealy Does and the Jimmy Jams and everybody. Like, I can do a really good one-on-one virtual sessions with people. So that'll be the other second part to Patreon that I think will be a pretty nice service to provide. Beyond that, right now, it's just kind of a general support. So that's where we're at with that. I was pretty happy to get it started. It went pretty smooth. They were very nice. And of course, it's up and running. And my boy here, my name here has helped me make sure that link is working properly. So you should be good to go. If you don't see the link properly, just do a quick refresh on your YouTube page there, and it'll show up that link. It's in the description down below. So there's that. Yay. So all you guys bug me for Patreon. It's up. So before we get into this, Danny asks, what is an actual working day of a professional modeler? Well, there's two kinds of professional modelers. One being a contributor, one who writes for the other publications and stuff of that nature. That's just going to be you're doing your model building on your downtime, per se, if you have a 9-to-5 job. And then you're going to have some sort of photo booth setup or some sort of photo setup to take pictures of all the stuff that you're doing with your professional work, because you do want to record everything. And then you're gonna have some sessions about writing the story and all that kind of stuff. And then it's just basic communication with the editors who you work with and then submitting it. For someone like me, I actually run a full company. So it's a 7-day-a-week job for, doing the books, doing the book orders, doing the printing. First half of my day is almost all clerical work, emails, phone calls, orders, everything with all the book orders, shipping. Is this a better time for European spas? Okay, sweet. Yeah, just a little bit later. It's mostly for the football and Sunday mornings in America, but that's just for me. I need some love. I need to do something for myself. Higher picture quality on Patreon, 4K. I'll probably do dedicated live streams for patrons for them in the future. So they'll have their own patron streams and stuff like that, with their own patron projects, which I think will be the main core of what makes that a little bit more special, what makes it worth it, besides just a thank you, which a lot of you guys are just it's a thank you, which I appreciate. But at the same time, I do want to give something a little bit more unique back. And then probably what we'll do eventually is you'll get a discount code for shopping off the books. Always full tracks. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with that. Ace of Spades, Jack's Trumpeter, full model. You won't be seeing me buy a Spades Ace. The stuff I've seen since Spades Ace, the quality of the metal is a little bit weird out of China with that. And they looked a little bit more simple in terms of the detail and how they were. I've not heard the best of the best. And then plus something in the alloy, they don't burnish as well as some. So I've heard less than other things, but full model's always been my jam. So it's no big deal. answering Instagram messages, that too, IG messages. Yeah, and you guys will get direct love. You guys will get direct love in the chat. You know, patrons will get a little bit of special love from me because it's, you know, it's how that works. That's how that is, the culture of today. But let's see here. Everybody good? Okay, let's get into the E100, which you're all kind of probably waiting for. What materials tools did you use for the well beads in the E100? Okay, yeah, we'll go through all of this stuff. So yeah, if you have any questions on this particular thing right now, I'm just going to start telling the story a little bit, just kind of give you a little bit, a few minutes of just the background, just kind of run. We'll spend a few minutes talking about this just to share with you guys. We do have a big slate of demos coming up today, so that'll be fun. We've got our snow finally, so we'll be doing some tracks, doing some snow on the tracks. You get to see that one-to-one. I haven't done that in a long time, so that might be fun to watch me fumble around a little bit. Yeah. Oh, who did Greg Riley? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hope you're all right, Greg. By the way, Paladin Howitzer, M109 tracks. I think someone did make M109 tracks. Drew, I can't remember who though. I thought there is a set of metal M109 tracks now, and it might be Frual Model. I did think you know. Okay, cool. And you're okay, Greg. I hope you're well. John Fossey, how are you? How are you? Okay, cool. Okay, so let's go back in time here. I had just graduated from university, college as we call it here in the United States. I was a young wee lad designer dude. It's probably 2000 and late 2002, 2003 ish. I discovered Missing Link's website, and on that website is their gallery page. And I think it was probably, I want to say it was, one of them was definitely Adam Wilder's E100, and probably James Blackwell's E100. Was new to that conversation of that German heavy tank. I had not been a big armor modeler for any like dedicated point in time. You know, this is me coming. This is the start of that story of how many of you always like, hey, I modeled when I was a kid. You know, 20 years later, I'm coming back into this. I've just discovered all this stuff. That was the point for me when I discovered all this stuff, was that generation of stuff. So it was, you know, what I didn't even know what dragon models were, who they were. You know, I was familiar with Tamiya and Italeri, you know, Fujimi, you know, some of the classic Japanese Revell and Monogram and all that stuff, of course. But what had happened was I had a lot of downtime because I was interviewing for the jobs with the car companies. And so I started to, you know, I think the internet had just kind of started. The web forum had just kind of started, and sat down, and that kind of designer in me was like, well, I wanted to do something. You start diving into that world, you put your foot in the pool, if you will, dive in the deep end. And so basically what I wanted to do was, I'd never really painted a dedicated model before. It was actually a painting exercise more than a scratch building exercise at first. And so I was, you know, involved in the construction comments forum. Nobody, I mean, I was just a nobody. It's no big, I mean, I was just a dude, just a fella. So what I started to do though is because I'd kind of had dabbled through school, and you learn how to build scale models in the school I went to and everything. So I had some, you know, general idea what to do. So I finally got the Dragon kit, and that was back when the Dragon kit was probably like $25, you know. That was back in the day. I don't know if eBay was around. I'm sure eBay was probably around. I probably got on eBay or something like that. So yeah, that was kind of the first footsteps in this. And so what I had done was, what I had done was I had the Dragon turret. I have an extra one. You have an extra Dragon turret, mouse turret in the bag. I have a whole box of E100 stuff, by the way. So this guy, the Dragon mouse turret, I believe this may be the Dragon, or it might be Trumpeter. I don't know. Might be one of them. It looks like the Dragon turret to me. You guys might know. So what I had done though was basically, I looked at this. I thought this was a big pile of poo. You know, I was like, wow, that's an ugly looking thing, isn't it? The big, like, just the shape of that curve is just terrible. I was like, okay. And that's just the designer in me going, yeah, that's not what I was hoping for. But I really just wanted to play around. I really just wanted to get my feet wet. So what I had done was I started to cut this guy up. And that's actually what I did was I sliced out material, sliced up, I think 2 wedges out of this guy. And you can see here, I bent the sides in, and I built a new front. I didn't know anything about armor plating and how it worked. And so what I had done was I had taken kind of the cutout shape of this interlocking front panel and redesigned it into here, which is probably wrong for a flat plate front end like that. So that was kind of what I had done. There's a little bit of criticism on that, which is true. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fix the plate interlocking thing. I'm going to re-describe all this part here on this model here, and we'll make it a little bit more like how it probably would have been in real life. But I was basically just using this turret as my guide. I didn't know anything about these. I mean, I kind of knew just what is out there, which isn't much. Still isn't much. And again, this is before a lot of the internet research pages, and I don't even think Panther Tracks had their books out yet in terms of what this was. Yeah, I don't see the problem with that at all, John. That's typically how I basically run my whole life. $30 kit with $500 worth of shit on top of it. Yeah, it's not so much as unrun all these, as though that's the beginning stages, Al. That's the very first model I painted ever in terms of being an adult, is what you're talking about. So let's see here. Just want to make sure I get some of the questions as I go. But yeah, so that was kind of what was happening. So then this is 2003, 2004, and the pictures and the videos that are used were the very first paint job I've done. It was just kind of my first dip in the toe in. Again, it's just as, you know, I'm fresh out of school. I've never painted. I mean, I would say probably realistically haven't painted a model to any level in terms of a historical military model. And so I think what I was doing was, in my head, if I'm trying to remember this correctly, was I wasn't comfortable with it. I wasn't confident with it. I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't want to, and it wasn't a tank that had like schemes for it. Like you could look at it, okay, the E100 served. That's what it looked like. So it kind of freed me from the constraints of the historical confines. That's what the what if stuff really does. I think for a lot of you is that you got that little bit of that extra freedom, the maneuvering room to kind of play without getting yourself into trouble, which is, you know, when the internet forums, and it was kind of, you can see the guys on there, take it pretty serious. So this was kind of a what if to let me kind of be, you know, get the first model out of the way. And that's all that this ever was. But everybody liked it. It was kind of a, you know, the guys on Missing Links at the time, there was a couple other dudes. His first name was Jay. Some of you may remember the time, but Jay had done another version where he took the side skirts and joined them together and made like a really flat, wide type turret version. So both of us were like playing with E100s on Missing Links forums. It was kind of a thing for a while, and then it just went away, and I just started building models, and that's kind of how that started it all. And I don't remember the dates exactly, but fast forward probably 5-6 years, whenever Trumpeter did their prototype. So, you know, I think it's Shizuoka. I'm going off of memory here. Shizuoka, probably 2008 or 2009. Trumpeter puts this down on the table. And then guys are like, hey, Mike, have you seen this? Because obviously it was well known at the time, but it was just within the tiny Missing Link circle. So it was kind of what was going on with that. And then by then I started writing for the magazines. My path through the armor modeling had really taken off from then. You know, this was, I think I've painted this guy 3 or 4 times, truth be told. So what I've done now is I stripped all the paint, everything off of this, and it sat in a box for years and years. And I just held on to it because when the Trumpeter thing came out, and I do have an NDA. I actually can only talk a little bit about it. I can talk about what was public, basically. And that was just, I don't want to get myself in trouble, you know, whatever. There's not that anybody really cares. But basically, I knew just from being a designer about copyrights, and I knew enough to know that Trumpeter was going to stand to make a lot of money on a fantasy tank because what if modeling started to kind of really take off. The Panzer 46 conversation, not Luft 46, all that starts to take off around that time period. So I like it. A lot of you like it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's a good reprieve from kind of the really historical stuff. But what had happened was basically I knew the importer in the United States, and I said, you know, because Trumpeter wasn't responding, you know, much of my efforts to contact. And I even went through all the people in the hobby that I knew that, you know, even like a Terry Ashley from, you know, his page and Brett Green and some of the others. I think Brett had just got the site at the time, or was at least an editor, and Marcus Nichols and Spencer, and probably some of those that are out there that remember. Hey, Marino, how are you? Yeah, this is just a primer. This is just the raw primer. You're going back down to the raw primer, 3 layers of paint, all sorts of crap on this guy. Yeah, kit tracks. I think this is probably an Edward photo etch set that just is the grill set for this. I did a little bit of wires for the thing. I put some bent brass for the sight covers. This is all from the infrared sights, all from the Tamiya Panther G set. I think there's 2 sprues in there, so I think you do get a couple of those, and I've wired it up over here on the front. I took the MG machine gun, give it some self-defense. I took out the 75 millimeter gun on the proposed turret, and I put in a 20 mil coax. What did I put on the the rangefinders. Make sure they flip the hatches around so the hatches work. Let's see what else. And then the weld beads. Weld beads are Gunzy's Mr. Dissolve Putty. It's an older technique I've used. The problem with that is it does crack and kind of over time, but the putty itself, once it's sealed with primer and paint, should hold up pretty well. You cut a groove. Looks like what I did on this guy is I put styrene rod in all the grooves. And then using the glue technique where you soften, using a styrene glue on a styrene rod, and then you use a little jimmy jam and you make your little weld marks. It's not as nice as, say, like a 2-part epoxy putty weld bead, but it does the job when you're, literally this is the first scale model I've made in, my adult life. So that worked. And I think these grooves are probably cut just, I'd even guess with a really fine dentist burr in the Dremel tool. Get the little, you always pick up those little extra dentist tools, those little grinders for your teeth. There's really small little, that's probably how I cut that groove. I just hand cut that groove. This piece, it's this piece here, the famous piece of the tank this is a cap of a marker pen from one of my design markers from school that I cut up and used because it was almost the exact size of this. This is, I think, the Edward, I could be wrong on this, is Edward 12.8 centimeter turn barrel for the Yag Tiger. But because of the extra lengths involved, I proposed it as the L66 gun. And then the length of the whole turret to the gun. There's a little bit of a conversation on the YouTube link to that video, but this length of this stuff here matches up pretty much to the Hillary Doyle drawing of the Yag Tiger L66. That's kind of what I went off of at the time. I'd found that enough. So, okay, that's how I got the length out of that, and that was all I did. That's all. I didn't really care past that. Then we do have a set of fuel tracks for it. These are probably the most difficult fuel tracks I've ever put together in terms of time consumption. They're just really tedious. They're huge. You go through a ton of wire, as you would expect for a tank of this size. This is triple the width of a Panzer I set. 3 Panzer Is go through here. So getting that wire to go through, and it's a 2-piece track, which, you alternate the pieces. So I think the only one that's probably a little bit more complicated than this is probably like a Char-B track or the Tiger II track with like the 5 links. Those get a little bit complicated. So that was done. But yeah, Trumpet agreed to finally put my name on the instructions. And then this guy was put the rest. And that's Charpack. No, it would have been probably my Prismacolor set on the marker set, Merino. But yeah, what you're seeing here is this is the strip back down to the raw primer, Mr. Surfacer. I've cleaned the details off the side of the turret from when I originally had built the model. But this is the original OG E100 Ausf B. So there you go. Patty Cakes, how are you? Yeah, we'll do some Gunpla scratch building. I do love the what if crab tracks for the killer tank. But yep, absolutely. Actually, when the Dragon tracks are on and painted and everything, they do fit really nice. They were kind of glued in place. So there is a little bit of the destructive processes. I think as I put this in the paint stripper, it broke down the glue of the tracks and some of them fell off and stuff. But I'm just going to pop all these off, redo everything. This will be a long journey to get this model because you're looking at a full like old car restoration process for what I have to do for this. I'll have to take this model back down to almost sand everything, go through all the crap that, there's still some paint primer stuck on these things and finish all up, rewire all this stuff, redo the canopy, the cupola, get all the sights fixed up really nice so they look good, and then decide on a paint job, redo all the welds on the front plate. But what else? But then I was going to say, oh yeah, so the trumpeter obviously made there at 35th scale. And through that conversation, I was actually able to, I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I'm friends with Vincent Way, who does the artwork for a lot of the trumpeter box art, because we had a conversation because he was also kind of involved in that process where he said, yeah, he kind of told me that, hey, they approached me and that's probably oven cleaner, Martin, most likely. Just use the general, if you haven't heard of that technique, is just Tamiya paints, because I was probably painting heavy with Tamiya back in the day, I'm pretty sure. But I remember going through a Vallejo paint shop with this thing too. I was also using Vallejo model air paints quite a bit. So Tamiya paints will come off with ammonia cleaner quite easily, but I'd probably use an oven cleaner to strip the thing back down, most likely, because it had 3 or 4 levels of paint jobs on it. Never forget working, but I'll listen to the audio. Oh yeah, you're forever working. I know you are, buddy. But then Model Collect came around, And this is a company, if you're not super familiar with Model Collect, because they do mostly 72nd scale armor, but they also do a lot of what ifs and fantasy stuffs. Model Collect, they own their own factory. So Trumpeter is like, if you guys don't know the big model on the back end of a lot of stuff, Trumpeter is one of the major factories in China that produces the tooling for a lot of the model kits you guys buy under the different brand names. What they do is they approach them and they say, okay, well, I need to buy Tamiya level quality tooling, or I need to buy, Hasegawa level tooling. Like they buy it at a price point of tooling level. And Trumpeter can produce the finest tools comparable to the Japanese, but you pay for the level of. That's why you see the variations in like a TACOM kit or whatever. They're going to pay for a tooling level that's not quite what they think. If they think that model is going to be a middle range seller, they'll pay for that level of service on the tooling. So Trumpeter provides a lot of the tooling. Model Collect has their own stuff, their own factory. And they make everything that they make themselves, which is pretty cool. And he reached out, I forget his name off the top of my head, but this came out a few years after the Trumpeter one. And after the Trumpeter one was resolved, everybody was kind of aware of it, at least in terms of the industry. And then they reached out, and then my name's on this one, but they sent me a couple of these as well. And this was just like, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. And I don't get paid for any of this stuff. I never got a dime for any of these guys. I would say I probably, my reputation probably got a bolster from it. So you guys know me from the E100, and that probably helped me on my business side. So I made something from it. It was never intended for that, if you know what I mean. Like I never wasn't looking for that. I just didn't want to be taken advantage of. So I got pissed. That's when I got a little feisty. Like, oh, just ask, bro. Like, we'll help. And that was the only bummer I've had is it's the quick 30 20 mil gun. It's a little bit shorter gun barrel than the other one, the AA gun. It's the one from the recon tanks in the 20 mil gun conversation. See, let's pop this open. I think it's just a straight kit. I don't think there's anything in here. I haven't looked at this stuff in a while. The only thing I was going to say, I cut myself off. The only thing I'm bummed about was like none of them. I never got to work with any of the model companies in terms of developing the tooling for it. That would have been really fun. Because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I was literally just effing around. There's a lot of stuff I would have done different or tightened up. So this is the little 72nd scale Model Collect kit. Tracks are actually pretty nice. They're in that kind of, I guess I want to call it the Dragon Styrene, but it's not the Dragon Styrene. Detail's pretty good for 72nd scale. There's no ice cleats on there. The chevrons are not on there, but other than that, it's pretty nice. I'd always throw a metal barrel and metal tracks, but I don't know if there's spare tracks in 72nd scale. I'm not a big 72nd scale model builder. Are we doing a review? No, we're not. Just kidding. So the holes all in multiple pieces. So you got to be careful with the construction of that element. That is going to be the most critical element. If you are not familiar, I am a fan of the tub holes. So if you have the holes that are flat plate like this, your main job as a model builder is make sure it's true. So if any warpage or whatever, that's when you're going to want to get it out. Almost all E100 kits of this nature with this really long top plate, because I know Dragon and Trumpeter both have them, this will warp very often. I believe under this one, I've got stiffeners underneath because the Dragon kit notoriously is warped on this piece in 35th scale. So that's the cautionary tone of this. Other than that, it's sand and road wheels, which is my least favorite task in the hobby. And they do give you little metal springs for the Bellevue suspension setup or whatever that is. Set of instructions, pretty cool. And I know this company, they do a lot of 35th scale what if Panzers, World of Tanks stuff now too. But I do appreciate the fact that they reached out and they were, no, Pavel. Yeah, that's why I remember your name from yesterday. If you have any questions, Pavel, let me know, because I know you probably have a little bit more insight. You've studied this to a high degree. So anywho, there is the basic ground story of the E100 Ausf B. But yeah, so the Patreon account, Patreon page, the fellas up there that are supporting that. I think what you're going to see is it'll take a few months, but we're going to have a nice journey on the restoration of the original OG model. You can kind of see the warpage I'm talking about. This is one of the things with Dragon kits you see. There's the turret gaps, the Panther kits from Dragon. This is one of the criticisms I have, and it's a little bit difficult to really tighten that up perfectly. But you want that turret gap to be perfect, because when you see them in real life, those gaps are really pure on the real tank. And so to me, it doesn't usually have those kind of problems. The Dragon kit, the Panther kits in particular, the gap's a little tall for me. It's a little bit too much. And this one, you can see it kind of has some movement in it. So I'll have to fix that and clean that up and tighten up. I'll have to tighten up. Yeah, there's some spare tracks. That's where I put them. Yeah, you can see my first time putty work. Look at that. That is some clean work right there. That is there. There you go. There's your prism. Actually, it's even got the color. This is so funny. I think I used 2 Prisma caps, and if Prismacolor marker caps. If you know what a Prismacolor marker is, it's a 2-ended marker where you take off one cap and there's the fine point tip, and then there's a flat broad tip on the other side. I wish I remembered what color. Looks like a pink or something. I love the fact that I left that color sticker on the marker cap. That's the black marker cap from the other side. So this is all, there's no movement in the thing at all. Again, this was me farting around, like just building something. Like I had no clue what I was doing. And I probably would do this totally different as a modern, professional. Oh, that's funny. That's just, when I saw that was really what it was, Pavel, is when I saw your video yesterday. I think a couple guys had linked, and I don't know if Evan's in stream. I haven't seen his name, but you guys came through and they're like, it really is a like a flashback. Because again, I haven't really paid attention to that. I haven't really done anything with it. Dropping turrets, all that fun stuff. Okay. So there's a little history for you, little history lesson there. But I will say, I did think about this yesterday. One thing I thought about that I think is kind of lost in the conversation is, to my recollection, outside I think of the E79, which I think is a Frank Forster design, none of this has happened again. Like Trumpeter hasn't tried this stunt again. Nothing's really gone bad in terms of, there's two major conversations with the Chinese in particular was they take the resin kits and they make the plastic kits from it without compensation to the resin kit manufacturer, which is an accurate armor conversation from about 15 to 20 years ago. They cleaned up that bullshit. I know the Tacom Burger Panther is related to I think it's the Tiger Models design, but I do believe Joe worked directly with Tacom, and it was a cooperative process to build a plastic version of Tacom's Burger Panther from Tiger Models research and development on their resin kit. So I will say that Trumpeter in particular has been at least honest to the course past that point in time with E100. So, and I know from the importer conversation with the gentleman I know over there at Stevens International, I haven't really seen or heard anything since about anything going kind of funny in the model world about Chinese kind of circumventing stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. I think if there's anything, a silver lining is, and again, I wasn't looking for money or anything of the sort, just wanted the course corrected, because I think, as a lot of you have seen, I think the heart of Pavel's article is it puts the misinformation out there that thing was real at some point in time, or was a paper panther at some point in time. And those that take it seriously, the World of Tank guys and all this kind of stuff, which are millions of guys now, this is a big deal. Like, they're going to think it's a thing. And that's what I was really concerned about. Is this going to, go down some stupid road of, and then I'm always like trying to defend it. Yeah, I will redo all the armor welds on the front. Yeah, it'll be much more like a small term weld thing. And I think what I had done, Pavel, was, truth be told, and remember, this is O3. I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just having a good time. But if you look at the mouse kit, the mouse turret in the kit, I think all I had done was just replicate that style of construction. That's all I had done. That's where that came from. So it wasn't anything like I was studying armor plate construction as like some sort of enthusiast and going, okay, well, it has to be this, and this. No, I think what I had done was I just had looked at this thing and I go, okay, that's cool. That's how they do it. And so I just had replicated that on the front of mine, and that's all that came from. So some of it is somewhat innocent. I wasn't anywhere near as knowledgeable of the process or anything of that sort of stuff. I mean, I've learned later, but that's just kind of what happens when it's your first. So Zal and all that kind of stuff, it's the first of, it's the first paint job. There's no OPR, there's no nothing. There's just the first paint job. It's all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, and that's where that would come from. So you feel free to edit as you see fit for that. But it's cool that you reached out. It's cool that I think I read the internet version of it on your webpage and everything. And it's just, I appreciate, Pavel, that you've taken it, as just, that's how the story went. But yeah, so anywho, okay. But yeah, what else we got? Any other questions before we get going here? I think we're good to go. Phil Bonafini, how are you? Brian, hello. Too many models, not enough time. Mike Parkinson, hello. Make sure I say hello to everybody. Scotty Skill Studio, 2020 mil coax. Almost a Bushmash. Well, then that's the thing is, I don't think, we talked about this. I think it was the last stream about the size of vehicles. Like when you actually see the real thing for in person. And a Tiger II is an impressive vehicle up front in person. It's a substantial piece of armor. It's heavy tank size in modern terms even. Tiger I is fairly compact. It's broad and thick, but it's a compact vehicle. The Sturm Tiger is pretty solid, but Jagdtiger is enormous. Jagdtiger is just ridiculous. An elephant's huge, but the E100 is a whole nother conversation. It's even bigger than a mouse in some degree, you know, and the mouse itself is a fairly compact design for its size. But the E100 chassis in and of itself is you know, when you compare it to a Tiger II, especially in the kind of the length of it and everything, it just dwarfs the Tiger II in terms of actual things. So it's, you know, I think the proposed turret with the mouse, and Pavel, and you guys might know this, am I misspoken here that Dragon basically put the mouse turret on the Dragon hull as just to make their kit, their original E100 kit? I don't believe the actual mouse turret was ever actually, and I could be wrong, I'm going off of memory, the mouse turret wasn't ever really for the E100, or was it going to ever really be used? It was never a serious proposition, if I understood. The Alket turret is actually what it was kind of supposed to be, if I understand that correctly. Again, I'm rusty. I haven't studied this in a long time. I flipped through some Panzer tracks last night, just kind of refresh a little bit. But the low is a amusing hobby, by the way. Amusing hobby, yeah. Which is early amusing hobby. I think amusing hobby stepped up their game a little bit too. A little bit better manufacturer today. Yeah, the Kyle Hillian says the model collect kits are pretty good. I've heard that too. I've heard overall the 72nd conversation, model collects are solid kits. Probably not like the Dragon Pro models from a little bit before, but I heard they're really nice. That one looks pretty nice. I didn't really see any, you know, I just haven't gotten around to building it. I kind of, you know what I mean? Like when you get so involved with a conversation like that, you're like, yeah, I'm just probably not gonna be building E100 for a while. Was that okay? That's what it was. That's what I was wondering about that. If I thought Dragon had just slapped that on there at one point in time, and maybe that was kind of like it'd been written about as a possibility to coordinate that with the Tiger Mouse and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, I know a lot of you guys are probably pretty deep in that conversation, the Spielberg books and all that stuff. But yeah. So yeah, but these are pretty solid vehicles. They're pretty sizable. An E100 is a I mean, I don't think anything today even comes. I mean, it's much bigger than an Abrams or even the Armada. What else? Okay, let's get going. All right, let me dive into this. Let me see if I can do this. It's been a minute since I've done snow. But thank you guys for hanging out today. Do the likes, do all that stuff, do all that fun stuff. I hope that was an interesting little sidebar story. Thank you, Pavel, for putting that out there. Yeah, I really think you guys did a solid job with that, and it was well received. Okay, so this kind of general look here, and then we'll go back a little bit to there's a little bit. This is Tank Art 4, and I kind of really took a lot of I'm a big fan of winter schemes. Obviously, if you guys are pretty familiar, you know I like the whitewash. I had taken a bit of some of the works that probably weren't big enough to do a full chapter, and then put them into their own winter kind of collective, if you will. So we have the 48 scale Hetzer from Tamiya. This is oil paint, by the way, and I actually reread some of this. I might have to add a sentence or two to a future edition. I should just need to mention that this is oil paint, even though I think I kind of allude to it, or it's you have to kind of hunt for it. So I'm gonna have to add a little caption that's white oil paint on this guy, but I like that look. And then we've got, and that's white oil paint directly over dried pigments. And then we got this guy. So this is, speaking of 72nd scale, this is what I consider probably a really nice benchmark kit. This is the Dragon Panzer IV E model, or F1. It might be the early F, if I can't remember which one this was. Probably, I think it's the early F model. This is one of the first of that series that came out. I think they've done the Tiger 1, the Tiger 2, but this was kind of the first of these $20 72nd scale kits, which was a big deal back then. Most 72nd scale armor is probably in the $5 to $10 range as a kit price. So I think when Dragon did this was $20 retail, $19 retail was a pretty like, whoa. But it's a nice kit. It's a very nice kit. Detail looks good. You can see getting away with blowing the pictures up huge like this. It still holds up pretty well. I do believe so. It's probably about that's probably still slightly bigger than the real thing. It's about this size, so you're still able to it holds up when you zoom in close through a camera like that. But all this snow effect here, is just this stuff here, pure Ashes White. This is my ancient bottle of Ashes White's pigments. And I'm pretty sure AKA probably still sells something similar to this because I know they own the MIG stuff, and I'm sure they have their pigment line. But any kind of white pigment will probably work pretty well. But that work right in here, this is all pigments with a little bit of fixer thrown down, all this stuff in here. And then what I do moving forward into this guy, which is the Tiger II 35th scale, is I have a little bit more of a mixture of processes. It's kind of all of it. So over here on the wheels, this is just, again, the Ashes Whites pigments with a fixer right here. That's just a straight application, and I'm going to do some of that here today for you guys. And then down here on the tracks itself, where you see kind of that textural quality to it, that comes from the Woodland Scenics Snow mixed with the White Ashes pigments, and then it's kind of a 50-50 blend. And then I set that up, in this case, with this guy, which I was happy I found. This is my original. All this stuff are my original bottles from this article, which is pretty funny. And then what you got in here in this situation is that on the Zimmerit is the white oil paint from the OPR work. This model also, by the way, too, if you're looking for kind of that history lesson, Zal, I know you guys like to understand that. Oh, I got some questions. I see you guys. Hold on one second. If you're looking for kind of the connecting of the dots in terms of like the conversation of like, you just like to know like where it comes from, this was probably the most successful use past the JS 122 and the T8 Tank Art 2 book, which is where that first kind of comes together as like a really solidified technique as OPR. And then this would be the first German version of that, where this model here, this particular side of the model, let's see here. Actually, this part of the work here, where did it go? I probably put the orders slightly, it's right here, this page right here. This bit of work, this photo right here, in terms of a timeline of OPR, the history of it, where it comes from, this photo right here was a little couple-hour session I'd done, and it went so well, so fast, so easy. Like, I knew that I was onto something big. I knew I was onto something where if I really develop this out, this is going to, really redefine, my work per se, and then extrapolating that out into teaching and talking with you guys. But that's all the white oil paints. When I talk about Zimmerit, when you weather Zimmerit, guys ask, how do you weather Zimmerit? If you notice this, I don't weather it like it's there. If there's no weathering to the Zimmerit itself, it's just the effects of a faded whitewash and how that looks over that surface. You've got the streaks of the rust. You've got the fender brackets and how they look, and the leaks off the breathing tubes, all the tow cable mounts and everything like that. But this particular photo, this particular section, the whitewash, all that stuff, there's the actual OPR palette. There's the old school odorless thinner from Abteilung 502. 502s was my go-to for a long time, and then AK picked them up. So I just use their stuff because it all works seamless. And you can see the original brushes, all the low Cornell stuff. I think we talked all about the brushes last week, but basically the King Art stuff is the one-to-one replacement, which is really cool. So it's all going really well. We love it, right? That's the story of all this stuff. That's how it happens. The E100 probably will have a published day somewhere down the road. I don't know how I'm going to. I haven't. There was a question about that, and I know it's come up before. Publishing it. First off, the original photos of the E100 are really bad. They are like iPhone 3 cell phone quality level bad. Like, you can't really print them, unfortunately. And that's just going back to 2003. I was never intended to produce this in any way, shape, or form other than putting a photo on the internet. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. There's really, how do I make a book out of that? Is, how do I, write that story out so everybody can kind of read that story, all those kinds of things. It's kind of, because it doesn't really have a good background to it in terms of published material, it makes it hard for me to make a book out of it, which is why you've never seen anything in publishing about that model whatsoever. It's not that I wouldn't talk about it or I wouldn't share it. It's just the photo quality of the original stuff is so piss poor. It's dumping rain. That I just haven't, I have to figure that out. It's a low priority on the list of books to make. It would be more of a personal kind of for fun. I know you guys like this, or there's other things to do that'll probably get a little bit more mileage before we get around to doing the E100 published material of some form. That's why I think the restoration with the patron stuff is probably a really nice way to go with that. It's a little bit of love for me. It's a little bit of love for you guys. Figure it out and do something else. Move on. The past is the past. Gents chewed you out, Dan? Yeah. There's some contentiousness to the whole stories with what ifs and stuff. let's get some demos going. You guys are probably itching. Spend an hour or so talking about that. So let's. So what I'll do is let's do let me see here. Let me get my bearings here. Let me get my head screwed on straight. Get through all the questions one last time, and then I'll get down to get to work. Some of them come with metal barrels. Yeah, some of those are nice. Some of the Model Collect stuff has some second tier. Did a winter whitewash on a TIE Fighter. You are so Canadian. Let's see what else we got here. Let me just go through the chat real quick. Precision Ice and Stow, one-stop shop for any scale. Yep, I've heard about that, and I will probably ultimately. Yes, Marino, I did start a Patreon. You probably came in 3 seconds after I talked about that. And the link in the description is in the video for you guys, for all of those who want to become Patreon supporters of Rinaldi Studio Pass. Hobbytown USA. Yeah, I usually go to Milford. You guys are talking shop. Hands are 3 beautiful little kits they are. And I think with the DS tracks, with the P2, you're talking about the Dragon Styrene. To me, it just seemed like there was some sort of weird quality control thing that happened in that company. All my I've even got early Sherman sets with the end connectors on them and stuff. They sold a lot of those separate Dragon Styrene. I bought a bunch of those, especially for Shermans, which were live tracks, which are perfect. And they're beautifully detailed, even nicer than a Tasca Sherman set. They're still fine. I've checked them out and made sure, and there's nothing wrong with them. So I've had a couple stuff cracked, but I've never seen. So I think there was a weird quality control as Dragon kind of faded a little bit. And then I have heard Dragon's kind of making a comeback a little bit. They're starting to push some kits back, or at least some new release or reprints of their older stuff. Like Jeff Goldblum. I don't know. I'll take that as a compliment. I love Jeff Goldblum. He's just hilarious. Weathering finds a way, right? Life finds a way. That's a great scene. But anywho, okay. Sorry, I could chat about this shit all day. I got to get serious. So this is a very large container of stuff. I was crying. But these are for the railroad guys. Let's see what I have. Let's get this out of the way. I just need a little bit more space. So I'm just using my little Tamiya scooper. I'm just being a little bit careful with this. There's no point in me rushing this. It's about a standard 50-50 mix of these two. And what you see with the wood, and I'll do a close-up here in a sec so you can kind of see why I do this. And there's a reason behind this process. I'm not that I don't think I'm good at snow, but it's kind of like a lot of stuff that I look at. I think the reality is I look at kind of what's going on and I say, okay, well, is that the solution I would take? And my end game is, you really start looking at fresh snow. Like I'm talking about like the morning snow. I really like the look of a vehicle when like you wake up and you go outside and you got the fresh snow on it and stuff like that. I just think it gives kind of there's a calmness to it. I think it really adds something to a military vehicle. It's kind of a unique look. It kind of demilitarizes the look of the vehicle a little bit. It kind of, I don't know. It's like the reality of life on Earth is just, you have to deal with Mother Nature and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of like what snow does to it. Plus I like the color contrast. But I really couldn't find, and this goes back a way. So I know you guys keep mentioning the precision, which is cool. What did you ask, Jacob? By the way, who wrote the book? Just kidding. I know. But what I try to really do, and I think you guys pick up on this, is really try to find a good solution for everything I'm trying to accomplish. And again, I don't know the precision stuff, so this goes back. This technique goes back a decade for me, and just trying to find a workable solution to 35th scale. Because one of the reasons I used the pure white pigments in 72nd scale was because it actually looked in scale, which is, as you guys know, I'm pretty hard up about that. So here you can see kind of the white pigments. I haven't really mixed them up yet, but we just get this. You kind of mix this up, and this gets some of the pigment clumps out too a little bit. Kind of evens the mixture up. The reason I like the white ash pigments into the Woodland Scenics is the opacity. It gives you that kind of really bright white, because what I noticed was when you put the Woodland Scenic stuff on an armor piece, there's a little bit of that translucency to it. And I felt I needed to kind of fix that a little. How do I solve that? And that's where the pigment conversation, it was a pretty simple, oh yeah, let's just put some pigments in and see what it looks like. And it worked. And that's kind of how I did that. And I know Vallejo has, I have their foams. I haven't really used this. This is kind of, again, this is probably more of a diorama product, as is the Woodland Scenic stuff. And so we're kind of using and tweaking it. But I use a combination of the white oil paint along with the white pigments. And then the second tier is the white pigments with the Woodland Scenic stuff combination, which I kind of like. So I think it turned out pretty good. So that is just a simple mix right there. Put that over there. Okay. So let's dive right in. Okay, I'm gonna need this guy for. Let me show you both. I'm trying to think this out a little bit as I do this. What I think we'll do here is let's pull the model back over here. What I think I'm gonna do, zoom out a little bit more. Railroad guys, what? Yeah, Corey, that's you guys, my friend. It's all you fools. What is the best route to get work into a publication? Seems a shame to build paint weather not show them sometimes. Well, it depends on your skill level, Patrick. Truth be told is the editors pretty much know who most of the better model builders are between Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. What you're going to want to do is reach out to the editors of said magazines that you like, and whether email or DM them on Instagram or whatever, whoever the companies are, and then share your work with them and see what they say, and then go from there is going to be your first dip into that. And usually you guys know how good you really are deep down as a person. So it's, in terms of your quality of work, it's kind of one of those things where, half a dozen, I get a lot of guys that submit to me but I've got a pretty specific plan in place, and I've already talked to specific authors that I want to participate in with my publications. But a lot of the other publications are contributor based. So they do need more submissions, like Brett Green and stuff like that, who run those magazines, and David Grumman and those guys. So they are interested in that kind of stuff. So if you think your work is good enough, Kodakai, what's up, Brian? How you doing? That's a good way to do it. Reach out to them directly and share your work or share your page with them. Like, hey, I'm so-and-so. It was an issue with the enamel thinners cracking them. Which stuff are you talking about, Panzu Dan? That is kind of funny that Gents yelled at you. Yeah, I never got to meet Gents before he passed, but I have talked to Hillary a few times. We are Facebook friends, and we kind of know each other a little bit. I'm not like close with them or anything, but they have done quite a bit of stuff for this hobby, so they do deserve the reputation. Okay, let's back up. Let's do some pure pigments first, and then we'll put the mixture down. We'll see how that goes. So this is pretty straightforward, to be honest with you guys. ArmorCon in 2 weeks. Yeah, you guys are screwed. Save up your money. Okay. So let's put a little snow behind this this front stowage box here with the jack block underneath. Okay. Don't breathe. Let's see. We'll use submission models thinner. Let's see, an older brush here for this. Let me grab one of these dudes. And we'll do this one. Okay. And where is my? Let's see. Here we go. Okay, I forgot my eyedropper. Okay, I'm going to use an eyedropper. A little paint thinner. This is the Mission, because this is the Mission Models paint job. I'm just going to use the thinner that goes with that paint. Or you can use the Tamiya X20A for this, or pigment fixer. Okay, just let that soak in one drop. Put another drop down. In this particular case, that is not a brush I want to use. That's got black pigments on it. Okay. So I've taken a clean brush here with a little bit of thinner on it. And I'm just very, very gently on the top of these little kind of nuggets, if you will, little chicken nuggets of snow. Just kind of smoothing them over ever so gently. And I just really want that little just like patch of snow look. That's really what I'm going for. And this is, again, this is a similar process. It's the exact process to the 72nd scale Panzer IV in the Tank Art 4 book. So this is just a pure white pigments right now at this point in time. And the light blows it out just a little bit. I don't know if I can kill that just a hint. But you can see the contrast compared to the paint job there. I think that's probably good enough. I can hit the hairdryer. And the one reason I like this, and there's a part to scale modeling that it's relative to this conversation, not just for snow, but what I'm actually trying to do is fool your eye. And is that whole conversation about special effects and some other stuff where when you looked at real snow in real life, it's got that it's ice, right? So it's going to have a glossiness to it. But if you start putting the glossiness onto this, you're going to run into that point where it's going to look out of scale. That glossy is not going to match per se. And that glossy in the real world is a really like white glossy stuff like ice in this conversation is like, you don't really see it too much unless you're just at the perfect where the light catches it. So I actually recommend this kind of fools the eye. Like, you know, that's snow. Everything about that tells you that's a little bit of snow on there. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with that. I'm not really trying to be the perfect gloss agent for that. So that's kind of one of those, you know, hey, Forrest, how are you? James Lynn, hello. I don't know if I said hello to you. Kodakai, yep, I see you, brother. A rough couple days. I'm on a home strong. Are you okay, Brian? What did I miss? Are you all right? Matt 58, I was up there like 4 years ago for hockey. My son stumbled across a nice little shop. Okay. So I'm going to put just a drop of, let me get another brush here because I don't want to mix with brushes. Let me pick another one. I've got so many nice brushes to choose from. I'm just going to have to remember. I'm grabbing the MIG pigment fixer here a little bit. Love the smell of a good enamel in the morning. So I'm just putting a little extra clear pigment fixer on that. And that will dry a little bit glossier. I don't know if I screwed this up or not. I don't think I did. But that will kind of glue it down pretty good. Now, what you have to do with this, though, is you have to kind of see how much when it dries after it gets fixed that it does kind of shrink a little bit. So you do have to just kind of pay attention to it. Like if you need to add more, see how it's kind of gone down a little bit, but that's okay. I'm okay with how that looks. Okay, that seemed to go pretty well the first time, so let's put a little bit more down. Okay, so, oops, I spilled a little spillage over there. Okay, back to the mission models thinner. You guys can see that? Okay. Just trying to really carefully put that drop in there without washing it away. Let the capillary action soak it in. I'm trying not to get thinner up on the paint job. I'm really trying to just get the fixture to go right into the pigments. The eyedropper lets you get pretty precise, to be honest with you. Let that soak in. And the reality is this is no different than really adding pigments of any other form to a model. It's white to represent snow. So don't overthink it or anything like that. It kind of, But see, I like kind of the scale of how this looks in terms of, you know, is it 35th scale, clumps of kind of half melted snow from the morning or from overnight, you know, fresh snow. Yeah, that actually looks pretty solid. I'm happy with that. I am happy, Gunpla. And again, what you don't want to do is you don't want to mess with it too much, because the pigments will start, like if you've played with pigments before, you'll start getting like a paint bleed. So you don't want it to, you don't want to like brush it around and stuff like that. You really want it to be set where it is, so to speak. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. I'm not unhappy. That's good. Put this brush over here. Okay, this is the pigment fixer, which is the enamel stuff. Just kind of add that to it a little bit. It just kind of strengthens that bond. It's not a big deal. I'm going real careful, real precise. So this process too, and the reason I'm saying that out loud is because this is like the final stages. Like you get to this point on the model and you're doing this kind of a stuff. This is where you're doing contest prep work almost, where like you're doing, these are the final steps. Like you're not going to be touching a lot of this anymore. So you want to keep that in mind at the stage at which you apply this stuff. So when I can see over here, there's a slight, because this is an enamel thinner, the pigment fixer, it has an enamel thinner base to it. It will leave like a solvent thinner does, where it leaves kind of a sheen a little bit. So you do have to play up that a little bit. And I can tweak some stuff too as we go. But it's leaving, see how it's leaving just a little bit of a gloss, which is fine because it kind of looks like a melted effect. So I'm okay with it right now because it kind of meshes with the matte surfaces. But let's dry this stuff. And this will blow off any loose particles. And then I can make any final adjust. I kind of like how that went down by itself, so I'm okay with kind of the look of it. Just drying everything real good. Yeah. That actually turned out pretty nice. I didn't screw that up. Yay. Yeah, that sounds pretty solid. There. Come back in here. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of, kind of make sure that's. That's probably fine. Come over here. I'll get to chat 2 seconds. Yeah, I did order some new eyeballs. The ones I normally, these are my 3.0s, a little bit older frames that I have, but I ordered some new readers that were 3.5s and 4.0s, because what I'm noticing is with the camera my way, I can't normally get close enough to the model. So like a little bit strong, I can see a little bit better now, believe it or not. That's what happens when you get old, fellas. The eyeballs are like the first to go. Okay. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Zoom out a little bit so you guys can kind of see the full. Just gives you that kind of a little bit of love. You can keep working this a little bit. If it's too clumpy for you, I actually don't mind that. I think it looks fine. You can ever so gently just kind of, and by gentle I mean as gentle as gentle as fellas can be. Just kind of taking some of the lumps out a little bit. Zoom back in for you. Oh, I did pre-order the iPhone 13 this weekend too. So they're running super good specials in the United States for them. The trade-in values are really high for your previous phones. So I took advantage of it. The iPhone 13 Pro, which is what I ordered, has a 6 times optical zoom, and this is a 2 times optical zoom on this one. So we'll be able to really, I think, enhance the image quality. And that'll even enhance for the 4K channels like the Patreon. And I think probably what I'll do is, not really talked about it before, but I'm thinking of probably having a parallel Vimeo channel because they can run 4K video. It's just like YouTube. It just doesn't have the legs of YouTube. Like YouTube is so popular. But anyway, yeah, it is, Mike. I tell you what, and you know what I noticed too was, what I'm 51. I would say like the last 3 years, it goes quick. Like like you can tell like right away. You're like, oh, that kind of went half fast. So you start running like a 2.0 reader, and all of a sudden that's not strong enough, and then all of a sudden you're up there, and then I probably need to go to the eye doctor and get legit glasses or something, or go get some laser beams attacking my head. But is that coming out okay, guys? You guys see all that okay? Yeah, nice. Okay, that's working. Yeah, so that's adding snow right to the model, and just kind of that fresh morning snow a little bit. And I would probably keep tweaking that a little bit. I'm letting it dry to see how lumpy it's looking. I kind of want to see what happens. 4.0 readers, 40 foot. Try Zeelool, Zeeelool. They're a Chinese company, I believe. They're all over the internet in terms of readers. I think I'm paying, the frames are like $10, and then the readers are $20. I don't do the blue blocking stuff. And then the reader prescription is like 20. So I think you can get reader frames custom to their, and they have enough styles that I think I found some cool ones. I think I like the square frames myself. But they have like traditional wire frames and circle. They have a whole bunch of frames and stuff. Yeah, Brian, that's the other. Yeah, I'm waiting for the back and the shoulders and everything else to go, but I've got a few years yet. You're a few up on me. The age group is 35 to 65. It does go down to 20 or so, but the bulk of the watchers are 35 to 65-year-old men. 0.1%, 0.01% female or something like that. Stupid. It's hilarious. Okay. Okay, you guys are talking hobby shop. I'm just going up through the G. How are you, buddy? I see you. How's G Construction doing? How is Pasadena? Yeah, UCLA, man. Wow. That wasn't good. But Fresno State is a really good football team, so it's no joke on them. They took Oregon to the end, and they finally beat UCLA. So I think Fresno State will be a ranked team. So I'm just coming through, just kind of making sure the snow looks like snow. This guy's a little, there it goes. That's a little better. Just really gently kind of pushing down some of these so it looks more like a compacted snow versus kind of pigment nuggets. The pure white, though, the camera it does get a little bit blown out in terms of what you're seeing on camera. Right in here, this needs to be. Just gently smoothing over some of this lumpiness, and that's just as it's drying. I'm trying to see how it's starting to finalize. Because the next level trick of this is to bring in a little bit of white oil paint. Once that's dried a little bit more, and you can kind of clean up some stuff with the white oils if you want. But I like how I just got it in that little fender crack right here on the back, that junction of the rear hole with that gap in that fender on the StuG. There's got just a little bit up in there. Let's see if I get the light up in there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. There's a little buddy right here. Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah, there we go. That looks pretty good. It's not too shabby, my friends. Okay, so that's getting the snow down on the tank. Gives us a little reference point for that. Okay, so now we're gonna move the lamp over a little bit. And this is gonna be a little bit on the trickier side, but it's using my skill sets. Okay, so now I've got this mixture here, the 50-50. It's the 50-50. So this is it's got a little bit more volume to it, if you will. Okay, and I'd suggest you go slow. And that's about as good as you can see. That's a tough spot to see because the road wheels are on. And you don't want to be knocking that around. You don't want to be sneezing or blowing on that right now. So same process here. I'm just going to use some of the paint thinner first, just to kind of get it on there, and then come back with the pigment fixer with the brush. And you see this look quite often, especially with this series of tanks, Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs, where the small road wheel design gives you the exposure to the side of the hull. In the winter, like if you study Barbarossa and the Russia campaigns, you'll see this look quite often on all sorts of these series of tanks, where the snow can kind of gets compacted up in there. But because it's a tundra situation where there's really no mud involved, because the earth itself is frozen, the water and there's really no mud getting thrown back up. So you go through these patches of dirt and snow, dirt and snow, dirt and snow, and kind of you get these really cool looks to them. So I'm taking advantage of that. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, it's just brush. The two brushes look the same. The enamel one you can smell. So I'm going now. I've got the pigment fixer. Just kind of add that to that a little bit. This will stick it down real good. I think I could probably actually put a little bit more Woodland Scenics Snow in that, because that's got the crystals in it. So I think I could probably up my mixture, but that actually looks pretty cool. And when you do this really precise like this, you get that really stark contrast, which is kind of what I'm after. Actually, you can see there's kind of that's why you have to be real careful with this, because that you don't want that anywhere else. Let me get that out of there. That's the stuff that fell through the suspension. Shake that off. That way it doesn't go in the model somewhere. Because it is pigments, it will stain, just like every other kind of pigments. Pigments are real aggressive in how they grab onto stuff. What we can do, so now I'm kind of getting in the groove. Push that over here. I've got the model on the side, flat, up. Now, let's see here. Let me do this by. Okay, so I did prep a new OPR palette. So we do have a new one. This is me kind of in the flow. Stick that down over here. I do have some, I gotta remember where all my thinners are, because I'm probably gonna start screwing this up. Okay. So I'm gonna put some pure white paint, oil paints down first. This is kind of like what I showed you on the Hetzer pages, where it's kind of the pure white. There's a little bit of, push that out a little bit. Kind of a high contrast on the camera. Let me see if I can tilt it. There it goes. Okay, and I'll get to questions here in a sec if I've missed anything. So now what I'm trying to do is kind of carefully paint on melted snow in the conversation using a pure white pigment. So because I've got all the weathering done, it's a real easy way to get some contrast through this. And when you add snow to road wheels on tanks, because they do spin at different speeds, as the tank shifts and does this little jimmy jam dance, those road wheels will stop and shift on the fly, because they're getting braked and stopped and all that kind of stuff. And so that's why you see the odd rotations of wheels on tanks a lot, is because it goes through that process. So what you do get out of that, though, which is good for us scale model dudes, is they're not always perfectly aligned, which is kind of cool, because it gives a little bit more interesting look for us. Now this is the blender brush, a little bit of thinner. Just kind of go through and clean up a little bit. So I'll be using the three. So basically, as a recap, I'm using the three basic products of the oil paints, the white pigments, and then the Woodland Scenics. Let me Try this up. It's actually really easy. And this is kind of stuff that's really fun too, because you're down to the last bits of the modeling. I talk about it in the books quite a bit. I actually reread some of the chapter this morning while I was watching football. Just some of the wording and what I was talking about, and just kind of want to make sure that I'm just not blowing smoke on my ass at you guys. But it is really true. Like, as you get into this stage of it, these are the final steps where you really start to go through, and I'm starting to really concentrate now on the finish. Where some of these are 99% done. In snow, kind of as a start thing, you don't want to, I mean, you could have a various blending of it, how you want to do it, but it gives you options. So I'm just kind of blending it with the brush here a little bit. And what you can do, where's my little dude here? To me, a stir stick. Get the pure pigments, just a smidge, just a smidge. So I'm just building up a little bit of white pigments on top of that white oil paint on the road wheel. And then I'll pull out the tracks and we'll do some work on the tracks too. Kind of smooshed it in there a little bit, real gentle like. This to me a stir stick thing with the little spoon and edge is really nice. It's perfect for this kind of work. This just kind of gives a little bit of volume to that spot right there. And because that pigment, the oil paint in there is a little bit still kind of wet, it's absorbing into the thinner that's on there. So this is where you're kind of a little bit of a scientist too, because you're kind of mixing various chemicals. But the enamel thinner and the pigment fixer with the OPR thinner, with the odorless thinner, they all get along okay. Like they're fine. And now I'm looking at back in here. I could probably put a little bit more on that. Actually, let me put a little bit more Woodland Scenics in the batch. If I missed any questions, how you guys doing? Again, this is a mix you did in the Woodland Scenics. Yep. So the stuff against the wholesale vein is the mixture, the 50-50. Bradford, you guys are talking old school hobby shops. Did I miss anything else? No, eyeballs. Yep, eyeballs. Try to text. What else we got? Eeks, and honestly, online shopping works for me. Question: where are you finding 4K? Oh, answered you. You got that? Yeah, 40 foot. Check that out. 4K would be amazing. Yeah. So the limitation of YouTube is they only stream out at 1080p. That's what you guys have right now. You can select a 1080p. The iPhone setting through the webcam app is also 1080p. But I do believe the next level of everything is I'll be able to, because the 12 does do 4K, but it doesn't webcam at 4K yet. So there's a difference there because I have to use an app. What else? So yeah, but I do think with the channels that can stream at 4K, I can do some 4K stuff like Vimeo, Patreon, a little bit different stuff. But that's also value packed because you guys are paying for that too. So I think Vimeo is free though, but the Patreon stuff will be a little bit pretty interesting. And that's just, providing various levels of services to you guys past the books. But yeah. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Like nobody cares about the whitewash movement. Nobody cares about the snow. You guys are just chatting. I love it. No, it's fine. Okay, let me put a little bit more of the Jimmy rig in there. Okay, got my Woodland Scenics. It probably wasn't quite 50-50, but you can go like 60-40. These have like little crystals to them, which is kind of what's cool about them. So I'm just going to load this up a little bit more. Let me put a little bit more in there. Just trying to be real precise with this, not making a mess. I'm gonna have to take a nature break here in a sec. I can tell I've had too much water and coffee today. Got to run, Corey. Hey, see you, buddy. How are you, man? I haven't really said hi to you, Corey. I'm sorry. What else we got? Met the one on the one on the fender, Sylvain, sorry, is pure pigments. The one on the side of the mud and stuff here on the side there behind the wheels is the 50/50. So I'm going to add a little bit of a second layer to that. Just like so. Okay, these are my OPR brushes. We'll put you guys over here. Try not to confuse that too much. Okay, we have which blender is which. Okay, that's that blender. That is the mission models. And then this is the pigment fixer. Okay, I got you. Okay. Now I'm going to do this and I'm going to go take a quick, got to go to the bathroom here real quick. Switch to this guy here. It's tough to get that thing right in. Okay. All right, let that set up for a second. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick, gentlemen. I will be back in 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Enjoy the show for a minute. Just stare at the snow. You know I'm not going to pee on the mosquitoes. All right, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. I appreciate that. Sometimes Mother Nature wins. I'm here. Yeah, I knew you guys were going to say the yellow snow. That's too much. But yeah, you can actually probably put a little, that wouldn't be unheard of, to be honest with you. Tanker's got to stop and pee break, and he's peeing on the wheels. Getting yelled at. Okay. That actually didn't look bad. Is that what's kind of drying up in there? There's a little spot, and let's take a little bit of the... Just using a little bit of the raw pigment fixer. So like I said, the raw pigment fixer has a little bit of a sheen to it because there is I do believe, and I actually touched that road wheel. Take my odorless and I could probably clean that off. You can actually see what we're doing. And you can see that road wheel. The road wheels look pretty good. Just gotta make it here. Okay. All right. Did I miss any questions? Penn State Auburn game was bad officially for sure. Oh, you guys are talking college football now. Awesome. Fifth wheel don't belong there. Don't go to the bathroom. Enjoy the show. No, I mean enjoy the snow. Enjoy the snow, not the show. Sorry, Mika. You guys are awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This is super chill. We're gonna do some traction. I'm just checking to make sure I got all the questions. So looking forward to starting my StuG. Let's see. Everybody was here, young and old. Use your magnifying glass. Yeah. The key success, and this is a good point to probably cross pollinate that conversation a little bit. Even if you have 20/20 vision, you're going to find that when you use enhanced vision, whether it's an optivisor, pair of readers, or you have glasses or whatever it is, you're going to really take advantage of that with both figure painting, stowage painting, detail painting, stuff of this nature, and then the general painting and weathering. For those of us a little bit older, you just kind of need them for everything. But I am kind of liking that. So I do use my readers. I have like 5 or 6 pair. 30-40 bucks. And you know, I started off buying the pair in the pharmacy stores or the drugstores here in the US, or you go to the grocery store in the pharmaceutical section, you can buy the readers. I started off buying 1.5s and 2.0s, and they do make a little bit, they just sharpen your brush work. You can see that you really want to see the tip of the brush as well as you can. And I would say there's probably a few people out there that are adamant you cannot do this without. No, Nog, I've not tried using ground up marble dust. Okay, that makes sense. The Woodland Scenics here. Let's do some tracks now. This is a good primer for adding the snow to the model. Actually, I'm quite happy with kind of just how I took that a little bit cautiously, and because of the stark contrast of white pigments and stuff like that, you really want to just work your way in. Don't rush it. You know, plan it out. You know, kind of have where you want to go with it. You know, I think if I kind of zoom out a little bit here. So I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I mean, you could take it as far as you want. I like to kind of like, it is a little bit of just less is more, but let it really give it a day to let it kind of dry up and set up. And then what we'll do is in future streams with the StuG, is we're getting to the end of kind of the bulk of it now. We'll tighten some stuff up, and this is where we're getting the conversation of, it'll be a good stream material of when you're at that 95 percentile, how do you take it that last 5% to finish off a model ready to sign off, to take it to a show or take pictures of it or whatever it is that you want to do. So we're getting there. We're getting really close. You know, this is good stuff to showcase, and that's on there pretty good. That'll hold up pretty well to handling, and if it has to travel, if you bump it around or whatever, that stuff will stay. It's on there. The pigment fixer, this stuff here, I think I was trying to say is there's a hint of a sheen to it because I do believe some of the ingredients comes from their gloss varnishes, if I'm not mistaken with that. It's been a while since I've had the conversation, but it's kind of an enamel thinner with a little bit of gloss varnish and some other little goodies and stuff. Nothing you want to inhale or whatever like that. So don't airbrush the stuff per se without masks and stuff. But in the purpose of how you saw me use it just now, this is I prescribe it as kind of a take a brush or eyedropper, and just like the fixers, that, you know, be real precise with how you put that stuff down. Because that gloss too, by the way, if you overdo it, you'll get that glossiness in whatever it is you're doing. And if you want dried mud that's matte, that's kind of why I don't use it a ton. And what I like though is I'm getting the really nice contrast between. Let me switch back here. So I'm getting a really nice contrast in there between the matte pigments. There's a little bit of semi-gloss sheen from, I fixed some of this with a semi-gloss here to get kind of an oilier, greasier stain. So there's a little bit of sheen in the mud there. You can see it on this road wheel here. And then you've got some of the white pigments and stuff over here for the snow. And then I can kind of build this whole scene out a little bit. And you can even leave it this simple too. There is really nice shots where you see stuff where it's just, you get like 1 or 2 bits of snow. It kind of just depends on the story you want to tell, what your references are, what you're trying to do. You can go more, you can go less. It's very, very enjoyable, by the way. That's really cool. Like if you're into winter stuff. And you can also see too, a really good kind of talking point as I'll switch to the tracks here because I have the track set right here. One thing I really like, especially with the winter stuff, is the reason you tone down all your whitewash, the reason you spray in at say an off-white is because now, and I've said this before, is if you were to paint that a pure whitewash, you don't get that contrast between the pure white snow. And I've left myself some room to do this, to get this kind of visual look. And I don't think the camera actually, it is. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, you're seeing that pretty well. Like that's a pretty good look between the whitewash, the tones, a little bit of the earth tones and the grease and grime, and then the white kind of snow. And so that kind of build up, but it's all in scale too. The reason I like the pigments is it really gives a fine granule to that. And I'm going to keep working out a little bit. It's a little clumpy some spots, but that's super minor issue stuff. I'm just letting it do its thing and cure up pretty good. We can do this. We can switch out though. So hopefully that's a little bit of help with putting snow down. It's not the most popular techniques, but it does come into play in certain scenarios for sure. There. Put him off to the side. All right, let's do some tracks. Same idea. I've got some paper towel because this shit's gonna get messy. Get the keyboard out of the way. Eyeballs up here for now. Okay, so let's wheel open this bad boy. So let's use this set. Okay, so a little paper towel action down. Okay, I've been really appreciating these armor walkthroughs. Kodakai, you're welcome, Brian. You probably know him. Yeah, I saw that box, buddy. I saw that when you held that up. That is a pretty cool kit. It's a very involved model, by the way. AFE Club kits, particularly their half tracks, are a very involved construction process, but it's an enjoyable one. I think they do a really good job with it. Yeah, it's gonna be a cool piece. Very unique looking too. Michael Dawson, how are you? How are you doing, buddy? How would you, Phil says, Mike, how would you make the snow look like a heavy wet snow or melty slushy? So what you saw me doing, Phil, with the pigment fixer is just kind of juice it up, go a little bit juicier with it, and then kind of very, very slowly push it, like where you saw me pushing it down with the brush. I can probably do a little compacted snow here, and that's the same thing with mud and the pigments. With that is you just up how much fixture you're putting down and kind of make it more of a slush versus kind of a clumpy, dry texture to it. My preference is more for the textural element to it. I think for scale work, it tends to come off a little bit better, in my opinion. But that's no big deal. Either or, how do you do? No right or wrong with that one, but hopefully that helps you out. What did you use for this? Greg, are you just literally rolling in at the last second? What do you do? What did you mean? What did I use for the snow? It's the mix of the MIG pigments. That's the old white ashes white, I believe. Sorry, is it white ash or ashes white? Ashes white, but that color is available in a lot of brands. And then the Woodland Scenics Snow. Okay. I always forget to put my eyeballs on. What else? Did I miss anything else there? Yeah. Did I miss a question? Yeah, if I do, just and ask it a few times. If I'm not answering questions, guys, also do not be shy to ask it multiple times. It's okay. And if I do not answer it, I will answer it tomorrow in the commentary down below. Anything like that. If I miss anything, I think Nog, I got yours. No, I haven't used the marble dust. I haven't done snow in a long time. But yeah, enjoy the snow. Guys, we all love this stuff. Mind your magnification. Yeah, it does help. I've noticed too, into the final point on the reader, eyeballs, optimize, all this stuff. It cuts down on the headaches and the eye strain considerably. And so you can do this repeatedly for hours on end. VMS, hello, Bill Moore. How are you? I didn't see your name there, bud. Boss Slots, how are you? I think I said hi to you earlier, but John, Stony Cipher, 74 here, Optimizer or Godhand. Well, welcome. I like the fellas, the grandpas here. Chilling, the weather's feeling rather, yeah, that's nice. Change it. Yeah, G Construction, if you're out there still, Pasadena in the fall is like Portland in the fall. It's one of the more enjoyable seasons for sure. That cool down is wonderful. Timothy Wood, hello, buddy. How are you doing? Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Okay, so we've got this mix to repeat. I would say this is 60% Woodland Scenics Snow with 40% white pigments. I'm sorry, I keep bumping the. We are jammed up in here pretty good, but anyway, just a dry mixture in just a container. Because the way I like to apply this stuff is in a dry mixture. Oops, I got a little drop. It's probably a little too much. Hold on, let me turn my angle here. I need to get the angle of the hand right too. So to recap on the tracks here, these are the 35th scale winter kitten that we put together way back a few streams, the Wheels and Tracks show. This section right in here has the pigment mixes on it, so it's ready to be the snow mixture. And this is just like what I did on the Tiger II in Tank Art 4. And I read that section again today too, and I didn't pull the book out for you guys, but it's the SS Armor in Winter book, the J. Dave Fedorowicz book. I've shown it before on stream. I know my boy Darren Thompson loves that book too. There's some really good winter heavy tanks rolling through the tundra in 44. I think winter 43 through 44, or one of those winters, one of the late war winters. But you get a really good look of the embedded snow in the tracks. And so this is that process. It's a little bit, not all of them are even kind of the same, but kind of a slightly random a little bit. And this is Lo-Fi Girl today. I put Lo-Fi Girl back on, the music. So it's a little bit more chill, a little bit less distracting for you guys. I kind of rotate them through. Last week we did DJ Eric, or what's today, Sunday? Wednesday we did DJ Eric. And I've got them all linked in the description if you guys like this kind of music, the lo-fi chill stuff. I find it really nice to work too. And I know Wayne and those of you watching football, how are the afternoon games going in the NFL right now? Okay, so that's down. Get my little thingy here. So this is, we'll just do a little bit of Mission Models Thinner as the fixer for now, just to get some in. Again, this process right here, just to be low key with it, is really, really similar to just doing pigments in general. And because these are burnished tracks with pigments on them already, you can be a little bit more ham-fisted with this process and be a little bit more, just move it through. You don't want to flood the surface, but you can kind of. So what happens? You can see how it kind of dissolves some. So this is the first layer. I'm gonna get some pure Woodland Scenics Snow. I like kind of the crystalline look of this stuff for the tracks a little bit more. Gives you a little bit more of an ice crystally look, a little bit more of a clumped on look. They're a little bit more translucent than the white pigments, which is why I use a mixture, because I kind of like the balance of both of them together. You guys can see me doing, okay, just making sure. This is that, and it adds a little bit of volume to it as well. Which one was I? Okay, so now I've got the pigment fixer now. We're switched over fixers. Again, this leaves just a hint of a sheen to it. And kind of just right there, you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm kind of pushing that down to give it kind of that clumped up snow look. I'm not really smashing it, but you're just kind of giving it a gentle press. And that's all it really needs. And if you get any snow on the actual brush bright cleat works or whatever, that we can take care of that here in a sec as well. It's no big deal. So kind of the question about making a little bit more of a slushier mix, just kind of a little bit more of a fixer and kind of a, kind of pushing it down a little bit, kind of smashing it in so it looks a little bit more slushier. Just real gentle like though, nothing special. This is actually real simple work. And this pigment fixer will lock it in pretty good. It can handle quite a bit of, travel if you guys need to take this model some places and stuff like that. And I'm trying to be very careful not to put that brush too deep into the pigments below. At the same token, just so that I don't really I really want that kind of strong contrast. You can get a little dirt and earth tones from what's on the tracks into it, but I kind of really wanted that the purity to the white snow. So I'm just trying to gently compact it up in there. And you get kind of a little bit of a soft mixture. And you can see that in the Tiger II book, or the Tiger II chapter. Excuse me. That you get kind of that opacity of the white pigments with the translucency of the Woodland Scenics Snow. I'm hunched over so much, my stomach is making my burp a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, I can tell by going to the 3.0 readers today, I can actually really see the workbench area really sharp and crisp now. Just means I'm getting old, fellas. Catching up to some of you. So I'm just working this back and forth real gentle like. Maybe there's a few spots you want a little bit stronger. There's really no right or wrong with this process, to be honest with you guys. I'll get to chat here in 2 seconds. Here, I'll stick my head up. I'm just gently brushing. And then with tracks like this too, you got that metal cleat surface right there. It's real easy just to kind of brush that off and clean them up a little bit as you go. Again, this is actually really easy. I don't want you guys to think this is nuts. It's just more like just good to see it in action kind of conversation. But see how you can almost kind of manipulate it with the bristles a little bit without really spreading it around and making it like a stain or anything like that. Because I'm trying to really keep kind of that hard edge look to it as well in terms of where the snow stops and starts. Yeah, so just kind of going through final checkups on this guy. Where are we at now? We're at 253. Okay, yeah, we're doing it right. The sun's making an appearance out there too. Hello, Mr. Sunshine. Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead and dry that. It comes in a huge bottle. That's the only way it comes out. There's no other choices. They don't sell a small bottle. Unfortunately, it was $10. So what else? It is what it is. I'm looking into oil paints to paint my models during the winter season. So I probably won't be able to use my airbrush. Which brand of oil paints should I use? Michael Dawson, the link is in the description below. I've got all that set up for you. So check that out at your leisure, my friend. The King Art oils are what I'm using right now. It's these guys. And I've put it up in there. I didn't check the sale prices before I started the stream, but this is brand new set of 24 tubes, 12 mils, which is plenty for what we do. 25 retail. It's a ridiculous price. And then I think it's usually on sale for about anywhere from half price at 50% off at $12 to, I think the last stream it was $17 for the set. So they're superb entry level kind of what we do. They are high quality. So if you're like a 2D painter, they work for that. But for what we do in the OPR conversation, they are excellent, which is what I'm really happy about. Okay, let me dry this real quick. Ozzy, how are you? How you doing? I'm doing well, my friend. Traditionally, snow has been one of the most difficult things to model, and handmade solutions usually don't work. They all turn yellow. Snow is the place to invest some money and buy hobby snow. Yeah, so that's probably part of what it is, John, is probably going, if I'm thinking back to what was going on, of if you look at like the Shep Payne vintage teachings of snow and what is it, not talc, baking soda, that yellows over time. So snow products tend to yellow. The Woodland Scenics stuff, the reason I think I probably selected it, besides the crystalline look of it, it doesn't yellow, if I'm correct. So it won't yellow over. It's like in 5 years, the snow won't look like yellowy. And same with the white pigments, because they're pure white pigments and they will stay white. So I think that is I think it's probably going back to what that was. So yeah, that's a good comment, actually. Okay, what else we got? So what I do from here, and we'll get into this, what I'll do off stream is I'll push that model all the way kind of well forward so we can get into the final sessions on it. And then we'll get all this mounted up. We'll do a track mounting session. I have to add this stuff to the other side of the StuG. I've been distracted a little bit this week with stuff, and then with setting up the Patreon page and all that kind of stuff, and then the E100 stuff. So a little bit of not as far along with the StuG as I want it to be today, but we're getting close. And that's actually looking pretty good. Because tanks that chew up the snow and get kind of compacted snow a little bit, you'll get this kind of look, which is pretty cool. And I'll just take a little extra time, just kind of pack it in there pretty good a little bit. And what I'll do is once it's mounted up on the model, you can do your final little tweaks with it. And this is where, even though these are workable tracks, what you're going to want to do, again, we'll show this later too. We'll show this as we get a little bit further along in a future stream. What you're going to want to do, put the cap back on like an idiot, is you're gonna set your tracks on the model so that upper run across that's under the fender, you can go in and put some snow and stuff in there, but you have to kind of do that once it's on. So this is kind of the prelim work, just getting some general snow effects on the tracks, and then as you get it mounted on the model. And what I mean by that is, and I talk about it in the book too, it's a good little final wrap on the snow part. What happens is, in this particular chapter here with the Tiger II, what happens is, so that's the work there that you just saw, same idea. So what I normally do is I'll do the road wheels like that, what you saw in the tank hull first, and then get the tracks on and kind of make sure everything's working really well. I'll pull the tracks back off, and that's the beauty of the Fro models. You can take them on and off the model pretty easily. And then you get them up on the model, and then this is where those tracks are going to stay. You're not going to be pushing this model around like a kid going vroom vroom. So you set this all up to where the road wheels are locked in place, nothing's spinning and turning, and then you could come up in here and then you get them on, like you get the snow on there, and then you get the tracks mounted, and then you do the final snow effects, and then you start going around the model. And like on this part here, what I'm doing is I'm talking about is I'm putting a little bit of oil paint in there to kind of blend some of that older dirt that kind of turns the snow a little bit on the dirty side, and then up into here, and then you start kind of pushing it all around the model a little bit. So I've got a little bit of gloss, like water runoff right there from the melting snow, and so that's the next level of what goes on with that. And so it's a lot of fun. But I talk about that, and so that's kind of what I'm showing right here. And the beauty of this is I haven't done that in a long time, and the fact that I could pull that off pretty smoothly without really making too many mistakes. I didn't really F up. I'm on the wrong lens. There we go. Sorry about that. So those will stay on there pretty good. They'll hold up to some handling, just like the other pigments that are on the tracks already. But yeah, so that's how you get that going. It's got a nice kind of cold winter, desolate look right now. So that'll be kind of what we're looking at. And then what I'll do is once I get them on the tank, you know, these little winter kittens have that little ledge, and I can start putting some in there and doing it up. And it's a work in progress. Like, this isn't the final version, and that's kind of something to remember, is that you get stuff, stowage, final details, figures, stuff of that nature. You get them 70, 80, 90% there. Then you get them on the model, then you tighten it all up, and those are your final things before you take it to the show. But yeah, there you go. Looking pretty good, my friends. All right, I did that without screwing up. I'm happy. No vroom vroom. Yeah. Vroom vroom, your Mazda commercial, you're out of here. I am bummed that they Mazda backed off that. Yeah, they do. The tracks up close look really nice. I'm pretty happy with this overall. This is the burnished white metal Sector 35, which are kind of Fruhl model copies. That's what it was. I was trying to remember the brand name earlier, who these were. But yeah, got the burnishing. These were the ones in the wheel and track video. I forget what number episode that was, but you can go back and check that out. We did a lot of work in that video. Actually, you know what? While I've got this all out, let's do a little bit on some tires here too. Let's swing away. Since I have them, well, we won't do the AB41. But I will say though, coming up in a future stream, my friends. Zoom. This is the Mission Models LRDG pink on that rim. Love that color. Absolutely love that color. I think it's fantastic. It takes rust chipping really well. It takes dust colors really well. It's a really cool, fun scheme to work in. And we have the Tamiya Cromwell to come up next after the StuG for the stream. So we're going to switch gears to Allied, but we're going to do the What If North Africa Cromwell, which I saw the dude on Instagram did a contour scheme. So we're going to do, I don't think I'll do that scheme. Obviously, I won't do his scheme. I'll do my own scheme. I'm debating between a Desert Rat LRDG pink Cromwell and then having some really cool markings and some other stuff and some cool loaded up stowage and kind of gear it up like the Desert Rats would, like say it was just a tank in the crew. Who all remembers the TV show, The Desert Rats was that what it was? The Desert Rats from the 70s and 80s? It was a black and white TV show. It was before Baba Black Sheep. That was one of my favorite TV shows. That was really well done. I think because they might have shot it in Africa too. I think Morocco or something maybe. But anywho, that's coming up. But this color is that's a beautiful color. I was really happy with that Mission Models color in particular. But this is the big Russian. What is the truck, guys? It's not the Maz. It's the Crash. Sorry, brain fart. But yeah, we can put a little. Actually, I'm gonna need that dude here. Hold on. I need a little mini prop action right there. It's the camera's straight down on it. It's angled a little bit more vertically for me. Okay. Don't breathe. Don't anybody breathe. Moved it up a little bit because I don't get the snow on the tire below. One sec. I think this is the biggest selling video for the Tamiya stir stick I could come up. This tool is amazing. It's this tiny little spoon effect. It's just the money shot. So this would be like a parked, if this truck was just parked and sitting there, and it had snowed. I'm just showing you a little bit. This is bonus footage. But I'll definitely order up some of that precision stuff to see what it's all about. And I looked at the Vallejo snow stuff, and that's really for, I think you'll have a little bit better time if you're a diorama dude doing like frothy waves and foam on your water effects, which I think is what it's mostly for. Rat Patrol, that's what it was. Was it Rat Patrol? The Rat Patrol. Yeah, but that long range desert recon group, really cool stuff. Obviously, there's the old Tamiya truck kit. Now we got a little snow on the Russian Kraz wheel. Got a little snow in my hands. It looks pretty cool. So in other words, that would be like, I actually built this as kind of a spare tire for a future truck project. So it'd be kind of, that's how it's going to get mounted. So whenever we get around to that. So you can see how quick and easy that goes. That's it, man. Boom, done. Boom, done. All right, OPR time. Let's get some oil paints out. Panzer Dan 42, my friend, just had a baby. They had her nickname as Chicken. Yeah. My niece's nickname was Squirt, and her name is Natalie, and she's Natterbug. Never done a weathered build before, so do I need a flat or matte finish? I recommend a matte. The Rinaldi way is over a matte, and I just teach you how I do it, so I don't get into arguments of yeah, Timothy Wood, King Art oil set is $17 delivered in the US. I think it's free shipping over $30 for United States domestic orders off a King Art website. And the links are in the description, Michael, if you need other stuff like brushes and other things too. And they're kind of a newer art brand company, but they're doing really cool stuff, and they've reached out to me. So I appreciate that, and their stuff works really well. So that's also double win-win for everybody, and the price is really good. But what was I talking about? No, kid names. No, what else are we talking about? Snowing at my T70 this week using your TF4. Yeah, Matt Bryan. I think that'll and hopefully seeing that live to live, and you have the book. Matt Bryan. That'll be a nice connection. Some blasting grids also work like miniature snow. Yep. What else? And there's tons of ways to do snow. This is just how I did in the book, and I like to show you guys, one-to-one. Yes, I'll send you a little bottle. I'll put a little. You know what I should do is they need to put these in. You put your snow in the 35 ml containers, and a little goes a long way with the white pigments. And you can see, I mean, these are original purchase pigments from back in the day, and I've used probably half the bottle, so it goes a long way. You can see how there's almost no mess. There's a little bit of residual that gets tossed, but it's not much. And this keeps for a while, so it's good stuff. Okay, that guy there, put the cap back on. Do not want to spill the pigment fixer. Put that cap back on. This was the other one I have too. I haven't done a lot with this in a long time. I never really used very much of it. It's another, and I think they still sell this or a version of it, or they all have their versions of the wet effects stuff. But these are actually pretty cool because they give you kind of but I think they're based off the principle of a gloss varnish inside of a wet, instead of an enamel thinner. So let's see what else. Okay, shifting gears. Let me get some questions out of the way. We'll keep going for a little while longer. Let's see here. Full brushes up, $31. Yeah, Zal, by the way, your Typhoon really came out nice, buddy. I think you did a bang up job on that. In fact, I think your skill level went up quite a bit with that one. Any questions? Did I miss anything? Anybody have a question I didn't answer? I can get up while I set this up. That actually went pretty well, pretty easy. What are we in the weather today? Thinking Gundam. I haven't worked on this guy in a minute. I had the sword. We did the sword last time. Yeah, so we put the heat effect onto that guy. I'm actually pretty happy with it. I don't want to mess with it too much more on that one. I have to put it back onto this side a little bit. I didn't do anything since we did this stream. Probably want to put a little bit of color. I want to put some color down on that one too. Let me get my brushes set up properly here. Everybody good? Bonsoir. Fonterello 29, hello. I was thinking there's an R in it. Miguel Perez, question. You sometimes speak of engine grease, but you don't have that in your palette list. Do you use it? Which one is it? I speak of it two ways, Mr. Perez. The first way is in every stream, but the last two, it's the 502 up Toylong's engine grease. It's their actual engine grease. You can go back like from episode, what are we on, 25? 25th episode, friends, by the way. Like episode 23 back or whatever it is, you can go back through the streams and you can see the listings of them. And that's only because I've switched to King Art stuff. But engine grease in the general context is going to be quite similar to any kind of a dark brown. In this case, where my finger's at, that's the raw umber, which is... so engine grease, the color, then engine grease, kind of the general effect itself in terms of just kind of a dark brown, greasy black color. Get this off of here. You're in the wrong spot, my friend. No, don't pull up that tape. So here you have right where my finger's at, that's the raw umber, which would be kind of my engine grease color. And then I've got my black over here. So I can mix those two and create kind of a greasy black tone on the fly. So that's just because this particular line of oil paints uses the art names like raw umber, and 502 uses more historical names like engine grease and stuff like that. That's all that it is. I'm curious about the brown cardboard oil palette and the brown paper towel. Is it a choice to have the white background or just the way it happened? So the paper towels, this is just me. I like the brown paper towels in my kitchen because I have a brown wood kitchen, and so instead of having a tube of white paper towel on my kitchen counter, I get the unbleached organic, whatever these are. I don't know what they are. They're cool. And I do like for the fact that because of the way we're filming stuff, the paper towel color doesn't blow out the cameras. So it actually works because this plasticky thing diffuses the white light really, really well. Like because my table's white gloss paint and it's all white for the book production stuff because everything's white. The white paper goes on this. It makes it a lot easier for me to control the colors when I'm doing my photo production for the books. That's the reason for that. But then the cardboard absorbs the linseed oil, if you're not familiar, which is that dark coloring right there. That pulls the linseed oil out of the oil paints, which allows it to be very blendable for our purposes of scale modeling. And that's why, and I've explained that before. There's plenty of videos, if you go back in the earlier episodes, explaining it in more detail, and also in all the books too. So you have that option too. It's all in there for you guys. But yeah, that's the basic principle behind it. But I do have white paper towels as well. But the white paper towel got blown off by the hair dryer. This paper towel here is my, this is the Viva paper towel. I don't know if this is available internationally. This paper towel is 7th generation is the company name, 7th gen. They're on Amazon. And they just sell products that aren't bleached, if you will, like all your paper products that are not bleached, paper plates and paper towels and stuff like this. But I found that the color I liked for the photography purposes of filming. But this guy's my blender brush for the OPR. This guy I don't need. You go over here. Okay. Switching gears. Get my hat back on here. Let's do some weathering and some Gundam stuff. So I've got some brushes. Get some fresh brushes over here. Got my eyeballs. So we've kind of, this is the other side, kind of dusted up. Let's do a little bit. We'll flip it over and do this a little bit on the other side here. Let's do a little bit on this guy in here. And that's that. Okay. Put my thinner down on the tape. So I use the double side tape just to refresh you guys so that this stuff doesn't get pushed around. So we've got, this is on double side tape, that's on double side tape. And the reason you stick this down is that process of pushing in the brush into the oil paint, it's super lightweight cardboard, so you're gonna want that to stick. And that's kind of why I do that. So I'm just blending some kind of dusty tones up on the brush right now. And what I will do, because I haven't touched this side of the model yet, I'm going to take some pure thinner and just kind of pre-wet that surface a little bit. This kind of gets off any oil and grease or any kind of residual stuff. Gives it kind of a fresh surface for the oils to go down. What you'll find is when you have a dark color like this, any kind of dark tone doesn't matter. This is just a general rule of thumb. is that if it's the top of a turret or whatever it is, you know, olive drab, hands are gray, does not matter. That the lighter dust color that I'm going to go with right now can potentially stain that paint. So just putting a little bit of thinner down kind of surface preps the paint. That way the oil paints have a little bit of something to kind of play with. And I usually do this on the first time or so with like I said, I haven't worked on this side of the piece yet. So it's kind of the first time it's happening. So it's a good idea, a little bit like preventative medicine. I'm just putting like a little bit of a light dust shade underneath these. This is kind of just general dusting 101. It's the look that we've got over here. I'm actually going for as a refresher for you guys. It's just kind of a long-term used military weapon. So it's well kept, whether it's peacetime or wartime, but it's just kind of generally well kept. The paint's kind of holding up pretty good. It's not a combat piece per se. It's not like, I've decided not to go with the heavily chipped, worn look on this weapon system. And my theory is simply just the fact of how most military weapon systems are handled today, that they're in service for decades, kind of an idea. So this would have been expensive, you know, for any kind of situation, if you know what I mean. You know, these weapons aren't cheap, even though it's animation and cartoons, if you will. I'm kind of playing this up for, okay, well, you know, what happens, how this works. And I find when you pull that context in of kind of what we deal with in the real world, it holds up fairly well for fantasy and what ifs, even the E100s and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of popping that ridge out a little bit. Simple contrast, using a lighter kind of a gray-brown dust. And just to refresh you guys, if you're new, the red stripe is a blender, so there's no paint on this brush. Jiggity jiggity. And then this is my Jimmy Jam with the gold. That's the color brush, and I use, usually for streaming for you guys, usually 2 or 3 at a time. The gold ones all have colors, and that way I've got like a light dust color one. Then I'll use one for kind of the greasier, darker, quote unquote, engine grease colors. And some of the darker dry brushing will be another brush. And then say if I've got blues or greens or any other like pure tone, then I have another brush for that. And I try not to, as a rule of thumb, mix up my color brushes. You want to keep, like when I want to put down a clear dust and if I have some green or blue in it and I didn't want it in there, it's going to screw you up. So that's the reason I use when I suggest that. So that's why I suggest you guys buying a few colors at a time. Oop. And this is what happens when you stream and you're being clumsy. Accidentally hit the color brush on the model. Way to go, dumb shit. Knucklehead. My grandpa used to call me fathead. I was a fathead when I was a little kid. It's like, get over here, fathead. My mom would yell at him. My grandpa was from Texas, so he was a hard nose. The grandchildren, I'm the oldest of the boys, but yeah, it didn't matter. So that's a wet application right there where I've got a little bit of a diffuse look. I want to kind of do a general kind of flat dusting. Switching to the blender. While it's still fresh and juicy, get that up in there a little bit, just kind of generally. And then what I've got here is this little angled guy. These are lovely. I've linked the new ones in the description, by the way. A little stipple action, a little stiffler. So I kind of blend that out. And I'm actually going a little bit more stronger contrast right now. I'm kind of showing you guys in real time how quick you can go with this. Hair dry it. Hair dryer is crucial because that kind of locks those colors in a little bit. And back to the blender brush. Kind of just working it a little bit. There's almost no thinner employed. We have fired the thinner. We gave him a nice severance package on the way out the door. We said, thank you. Thank you for your service. So I'm just cleaning some of this stuff up in here. And you can see some of that other tones that were underneath that are starting to, because of the oils. One of the beauties of the oil paints is their translucency. It's a really wonderful thing. And this is where you're, because I'd actually effed up, and I guess I hit the brush while I was talking to you guys on this little junction box thingy. So trying to clean that up, trying to build that contrast up, because I want to make sure that work in there. And same, I touched the top of that tubing right there too. Am I missing anything? Life Color paints are beautiful, Doug's Bass Place. They're an excellent brand of paint. In fact, I think I've said this before, and no offense to my boys at Mission Models, I love you. You know I love you. If I had to have one brand of paint in my life and I didn't know any better, it'd probably be Life Color, because they do everything really well. Not the best of the best in any one category, but Life Color paints are an excellent watercolor, water-based system as well. A little bit more clumsy to airbrush, but their brush painting is on Vallejo's level, so they're pretty nice. Many of my books have tons of oil paints in them. I mean, a Life Color in them. Plus, they have some specialty sets that are pretty nice too. Okay, sorry guys. Let me. My head was down. I was working. I'm in the zone. Like, I want to do this now. I'm in a really good, spot. I'm just going to sit here and crash 255 B. Thank you, Tomas. That's what it was. Yep. Okay. So back up the Rat Patrol. Yep. That's coming by. I'm excited for that. That's why I want to push this StuG out of here a little bit. I'm in that mode where I'm doing some reference and research, and when we pull the Cromwell out, we'll talk about it more specifically. And again, I think what I'm really going to do is I'm thinking about this through the thing is I think the Patreon page will really be cool for those that want to get the in-depth look behind the E100 in terms of my resurrection of that. So you're going to get some legitimate, exclusive content, which makes why you're paying for it. So I do appreciate that. It'll be cool. Grow that over. And everything I'm doing also, by the way, too, a lot of this stuff is, and I've had these conversations recently. So to those that are interested in the next level of what goes on for this kind of work, is I am keen on the long-term prospects of what's going on here. I'm not looking for anything short-term like the YouTube channel. I think twice a week as a live stream. I'll throw in some edited content occasionally. I had this conversation recently that don't expect me to shift into making edited videos. I think the live stream process works beautifully because I'm a publisher. I think that's a really good combination, and it works really well for me. Because if you were to talk to Martin and how much time goes into making that stuff behind the scenes and then making the video, then dropping the video, that would take up all my time, and then I wouldn't get the books done, which defeats the point of the books, kind of an idea. And I make a lot of money from the books in terms of what a retail business does. So that's the smart play. Use this as kind of the interaction with you guys, the teachings, the Patreon for kind of the coaching and some exclusive, and it's kind of a thank you, and you guys are thanking me and all that kind of stuff. So I think this will work out long term, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. This is I want to be able to do this for a while, so to speak, and get really good at it, so to speak. I think that's kind of just being transparent with you guys, where my head's at, where RSP's at, where we're going, because I have a bunch of new books coming next year. So that's kind of what I'm also thinking too. Once we get all the printing done with this year, then we'll move into next year. Fonturello 29. Did I answer your question okay with that, with the colors and the cardboards and the paper towels? Patty Cakes, are you going to stream the Dom Tropin with these weapons to go? The weapons are almost done. The Dom Tropin will be up probably the next project. You'll see at some length as we rotate through the StuG out and then bring the Cromwell in. So that'll be more painting and airbrushing and chipping and all that kind of stuff will happen again in that rotation. The Dom Tropin will be the OPR conversations for weathering as that happens. These weapons are basically they're almost ready to be signed. I'm showing you just kind of the next side of it, but look how quick that goes. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. You just gotta love that. This is fucking awesome. Did you ever consider published books non-armor related? Yes, Ozzy. The SM books, brother. I don't mean to be. I'm not being a dick. Sorry. So the SM series is open to anything, any subject, any scale. The tank arts, and then you'll see airplane art. You'll see, train stuff and construction stuff eventually. But yeah, I started with armor because the missing links, the E100, all those conversations. That's my reputation. All my contributor base was armor because that's what all the editors really wanted to see. So I've never used Life Color. How did they brush paint? Superbly, Marino. But they are a water-based system. So if you're in the brush painting conversation of like Game Workshop, Vallejo, Citadel, it's in that ilk. Yeah, they're excellent. I've not used AK's 3rd gen stuff, so I can't comment on whether I've used them or not. So I just haven't. But usually that's because I've got, in terms of AK's 3rd gen, for example, I'm covered with the mission models. I'm okay with that. So I have some older life colors I've maintained, and I have some older Vallejos I've maintained. But mission models is my primary brand, if you will, for painting. So that's why. And I don't test all the paints anymore. I still have some Tamiya as well, but I won't use them as much. But yeah, life colors are good. Just ordered the Dom Trope. Oh, you found one? Okay, Patty. Yeah. What'd you pay for that? That's a $20 kit going for $80 today. Bastards. Hopefully you got a good price on that, Pat. Yeah, Fish Submarine. So who asked that question? I forgot who asked that question. But yeah, SM books are the everything books. So the first book was the Fish Submarine. The second one was a military tractor, which is actually civilian design that has been repurposed for civilian work. And then the third book was the Gundam Sazabi book, all of which are available pre-order to reprinting. Everything's coming back out, so I'm super happy with that. Everything good? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Everybody good? Everybody having a good day? Are your teams winning? I know, Wayne, your team won. Yeah, I agree, Wayne. So I think what I've learned is, so this is stream 25. So if I'm a little bit chattier, it's fine. I think it's a moment to talk and pause and catch up and reaffirm what's going on with what we're doing, because you guys are following this and you're into this, and still every stream 50 to 100 guys are here every time. So it's obviously it's going well. There's growth potential in that, of course, as anything is. And so for me, the main purpose is to really help you guys one-to-one as much as I can. And I personally enjoy this. It's a fun process versus if you have to film this stuff yourself. Remember, I do work alone, so I don't have an assistant or anything of that sort. So even though Rick's down the road, he's got a day job and I work, I don't have that kind of option. So, how do you build a model, film yourself? And then I'm also a publisher, that whole conversation. So it doesn't make a ton of sense. And I've been kind of fighting that conversation, but with the iPhone 13 coming, how this has been going, because I think it's been fairly successful. I think you guys are really happy with this. My sense is you like this. I may not hit all the time spots around the world, and maybe we play with some more in the future just to kind of break it up down the road. But right now, this is working, man. It's 25 episodes in. There's 75 hours of content. Plenty for you guys to catch on what I do. And if I have to bounce for a week, there's plenty of stuff to watch and, all that kind of stuff. So this works for me. Studio Mechanica Cosmonaut. Oh, you mean the Industrial Mechanica Cosmonaut? Yeah, that's a superb series. I think the gentleman that designed the original, Industrial Mechanica made the resin kit, but the guy that designed it is 3D printing some stuff now. By the way, I'll see if I can find his Instagram, Marino, but you can cross-reference the name through the guy, because his name's on those boxes. You can find him on Instagram, and if you were interested in that, Marino, that kind of stuff. I saw a newer piece from him that was like, oh man, I'd love to do that one too. That would make a good, standalone book too. Those kind of ideas. Derek Stenning, thank you, Marino. Yep. He's on Instagram and he's talking about, I think he can sell you the 3D print files now, which is where we're going with all this stuff. So anyway, that's what it's going to be with the streaming. I'm going to put my eyeballs back on. Y'all kiss my butt because I'm going to keep going. But yeah, keep asking away questions. The more you guys ask about stuff, even if I don't have an answer, I can try to help if I can, or push you in the direction of those that can help. But you can see how quick, let me just make sure I don't have any. I work section by section so that I'm really focused, and then the end results are of a high quality on pieces like this. So you can see here, as I rotate this through, I've got to make sure I don't have any of this kind of crap underneath. But the oils have a little bit of life to them, so left in them. So but with the light tone on a dark base like this, I'm probably talking too much in terms of being clumsy in terms of these kinds of things where you get, because you have to weather all four sides of this kind of a thing here. And actually, let me pull over. Where is mine? I should hold on one second, guys. Okay, now I don't have to touch it. Sorry about that. But what I was trying to say though is, especially in the Gunpla world, is there's four sides to every piece that you work on. And so it does take a little bit more time. It's a little bit more intensive work in terms of this kind of level of taking it to the, weathering your pieces and stuff like that. but I do have to be a little bit conscious of the fact that this tone will stain a little bit. So what I can do, it's not the end of the world. There's a little bit of staining going on in there. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where the light tones can be a little bit, you have to be on your game. Don't get distracted like Michael. Don't get distracted like me. So I'm just cleaning up some more where I was clumsy. Okay. So let's use this dude. So I'm going to use some of my, where's my darker browns over here. Get a little bit of black. That brush is ready for pasture. Let's switch brushes. There we go. That brush had kind of dried. I didn't clean it up pretty good. It was a little bit on the stiff side. So I grabbed another one. Okay, a little bit of a dark raw umber with a little bit of black. And actually a hint of a dark forest green over here. Because of the general tone of this colorway on this model is kind of an olive drab a little bit, kind of a really dark brown olive drab, but with a hint of like steel tones to it. I'm finding that in the colorway conversation, and just a hint of green to it, to some of these dark tones of the blacks and browns, gives you that kind of greenish hue to the weathering. And that's kind of what you guys can kind of see that a little bit. It's not super noticeable, but it kind of is the overall vibe of just kind of the colorway. You know, I've got a little bit of the green, you know, kind of the green work I did over here. And this is kind of a brownish, it's like a really, really dark OD in essence, as I worked it up through here. And then even some of the dry brushing I did through here was kind of a dark brown green color. So what I'm doing over here on this side, same basic idea. So get the brush set up. I'm unloading. Let me zoom out so you can kind of see what's going on here. Give you a little look at the brushwork. So I'm pulling in some raw umber, just to hint the black. I'm blending on the cardboard, a little bit of the green. There's almost no thinner involved at this point, even though the oil itself is blendable. Come over to my paper towel, set up my dry brush. And then let me switch back to the other lens, zoom in for you dudes. Okay, let's do some. Because there's that soft residual dust. See what I'm doing right there? And I love this subtlety to it. See how you get just a hint of that green? So I'm just kind of slightly dry brushing the hot spots a little bit. And this is where, when I've talked about before, these are really, like, it's super simple, but it's also really important just to refresh. It's a light to dark conversation, and it's very, very repeatable, successful, reliable, et cetera, et cetera. You know, with the dry brushing, I can kind of get kind of a scuffy, scratched. See how that kind of just scuff on scuff, kind of not really chipped. And then up over into here. Knock that edge down where that oil had dried, and see how see it. There you go. Boom. Money. So this is why I prefer that conversation of that light to dark. And this is the first time I've used the King Art in something this, you know, at first I used it on the StuG the other day. These oils I've had for a little bit less than a week now. So I'm starting to kind of see they're a little bit on the creamier side, and they're a little bit more of the precision element and the blend. Like, see how soft, like right here. See that color transition in here? Like, to me, that's a smoother color transition than what I'm seeing with the 502s. So I'm kind of really liking what's going on with this, because it's a slightly different consistency to the oil paints. Change is good sometimes, and I'm okay with that. So I'm fixing any mistakes where I accidentally hit it with the light color. I'm getting a bit of a sunburst out there, so we're getting some shadows. Just kind of rotating so you guys can see that. So, but by putting that light color down first and then coming back and dry brushing those raised areas in the corners and stuff, That's how you build up that layered look of kind of worn patina. It's like kind of in a chip conversation, but not really hardcore chips. And I like that about this because I'm going for, remember, this is 1/144th. So the stark chip look probably doesn't always play. I want a weapon that's been in service for a while. It's got kind of space dust, collected dust, kind of, you know, just a general fading, worn look to the main colored patina. And so the main weapon sight here on the right is more of a black paint. So there's a little bit of different colors, but just a little bit of tone on tone work. Just kind of cleaning up some of that. So I was a little bit sloppy in that. I was talking to you guys at that same time. I'll redo some of the dust coloring up in here. Did I put that brush? No, it's this brush. Okay. So speaking of that, let's put some more light colors down. But you can see how fast that goes. That's pretty nice how that goes like that. So I'm pulling a little white, a little gray, a little tan. And what I had done on my color palette too, by the way, because I think Chris Cortez, I don't know. Oh, hey, Drew. Let me get you a question here. I'm in the groove, fella. Sorry about that. This particular color palette set does not come with like a beige or a tan color. So what I had done up here, right here, is I took some white. I took some of the browns, a little bit of the gray, and I kind of pre-blended a pile of like tan dust color there for my use in the future in this palette. So I've got a little bit of a tan base to work with. Normally what happens is in this conversation, because I just have a basic range of colors on this one this time, just trying a little bit different process, less coloring. If you looked at this, I put all 24 of them out, and I obviously just don't need a ton of them. You know, one blue is plenty for what I'm doing. One green was plenty. I like the violet tone. That was actually kind of a nice color. It's probably not useful here, but I will use it later on. But then a dust tone. So that's what I was doing with that. But when you're working on this, do you have a picture of how it will look finished in your head? Yeah, typically you do, Drew. So I'm kind of going off of my experience. I'm kind of going off of looking at other weapon systems per se. You know, like naval weapon systems, you know, where you get that faded oxidized paint look, and then you come back in and you're scuffing the worn darker spots. Is kind of a fresher look to that, where that's why you're going with a darker edged look. And you see this like on jet aircraft, especially with the matte paint, because all this, I'm presuming this is all military matte paint in my head, even though it's Gundam. That's how I'm playing this up. So I'm not going with the glossy, shiny anime look, if you will. So I'm intentionally militarizing this and going more in a realistic kind of a process, but also playing up. Well, I'm used to matte paints. I'm going with what I'm comfortable with for now. But I don't want a heavy chip look, no hairspray chipping and stuff like that. I want kind of just, like I said, an in-service look. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing like a light dust faded, embedded, oxidized painted look. And then I'm coming back in with a darker dry brushing look to hit some of these hot spots here, some of the edges. Oops, I'm in the wrong lens. Sorry about that. I always forget that lens doesn't zoom in. So that would be like, for example, because it's, you know, the machine itself has giant hands, the manipulators, as they're called, will grab and touch this kind of a thing. And then there's going to have small humans that will probably service this device, because this piece here is 30, 40, 50 feet long, you know, 20-meter, you know, cannon that a large robot carries around, kind of an idea. So it's a little bit of a stretch of, you know, you have to cross that bridge of believability, but at the same time, I'm just trying to, how can I do this and represent the scale of it? And it's the same conversation with this guy, where in those of you that have been from this conversation here, really trying to represent a large broadsword that is this size, you know, a robot size. I did a little heat treated look over here, kind of the tempering of the colors, you know, like how it gets in using, I don't think he's in here today, but Jeff, the Two Hands New York guy, sent me some photos of sword making and the tempering and what that looks like, the bluing and the staining. And so I kind of did a little bit of that with the oils last time. And this is a little bit of a learning exercise for me. You know, it's actually, I think it looks pretty cool. I have to touch up some work here. But it's about halfway done. We're getting this sword kind of in place. I was trying to decide how to play that up in the Gundam lore. You know, a heat saber is what the robot we're using. And again, if you're unfamiliar, this is what they're talking about, the Dom Tropin. I didn't see your answer, Pat. What did you pay for yours, buddy? I've got a couple of these. So this is the robot that handles this. And again, what you're seeing here is, oops, his leg twisted up. So this feller, so that's his handle right there. This is a shoulder pad. So it's a Bazooka process. So it's basically just him holding a giant robot holding a giant bazooka over his shoulder. And that's typically how it'll mount. And then the sword, when I'm finally finished with it, and I have to do some stuff. The sword, there's a mount right here. It's going to carry on he's going to carry it on his back at this kind of, maybe, I think it was this way. Yeah, because I wanted to mount it to where this was horizontal to the ground. And that's what I was doing with that. And then he has a machine gun over here as well. It's this guy, which is I'll use this as a kinetic energy weapon because it has an actual ammo bin. So yeah, so I'm pretending that these are, if we think about this as kind of, active duty service units that protect the borders of a region or protect, these are the weapon systems of the military of this story arc that are in kind of service, but they're not like full blown combat service level stuff. That's kind of where I was headed with all this. Hopefully that makes some sense. So I'm using a little bit of everything with that, Drew, to kind of build up the base knowledge of stuff. Larry Russo, how are you doing? I'm doing a great job. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. And I think you guys would tell me. I think I would know with the viewings. I would know with, emails and stuff. Most of the emails I get, and those of you I talk to personally, one-on-one behind the scenes too. I think overall, this has gone really, really, really well. I'm really happy actually. So I'm pretty stoked about this. But is there any final questions here today before we get in the final 15, 20 minutes of wrapping this up? You guys are still talking about King Art. Yeah, again, the King Art links are all in those descriptions below the video. Patreon link is in there now. So again, I appreciate those that push me into that. I was kind of resistant to that a little bit. But we're up and running. So, off we go. Let's get into it. Let's do it. I'm committed. I'm going to commit myself to the task. And then there's going to be a tutoring service option on the Patreon level as well for those of you that do want to have that option. It's not for everybody, I understand that, but at the same time, a few of you say, for example, if you want to take, if you really want to do a competition level piece and you need a couple pointers and a couple things, it's probably worth $100 or something like that to you to really set this up and do this with me. And I'll put all the time I need in to make sure you guys, because for me, like when I see, like, for example, let's use Zal if you're still around, like when I see Zal's Typhoon and knowing he's doing, or even Mike and Officer Mike in chat here, when I see the work that you guys are doing, as you've taken kind of what we're talking about or all this stuff, I think it really is, it's a repayment to me. The Dewage patty cakes is my, it's up there too, my top 3. I love the Dewage. The Dewage, to those of you that aren't familiar, that you saw the Dom Tropin, the Dom series of mobile suits is kind of the heavy grunt of the Xeon forces, which are considered in the conversation kind of the bad guys, if you will. Protagonists, as they call them. Just checking my work. It's good to look at the snow pieces after. So there's a series of the Dom, the Rick Dom, which is a slightly modified version, has a slightly different weapon loadout. The Dom Tropin is kind of a desertized version, if you will, and the Dewage was taking that series to the next level. It's very much like, say, for example, in tanks or stuff like that. It's the Dewage is kind of the M1A2 Abrams of the M1 series, if you will. If that makes sense. I did order a master grade Dewage that I bought off of eBay because I got tired of waiting for some. I paid a little bit for it, but if you are familiar with Zach Aurelius's stream, he does a critique. Yes, I will include critique builds on the Patreon. So if that is something you guys, as kind of a low-level tutoring type thing for the general guys, we'll do some some critique stuff. If you guys want to get into that level of stuff, it's not my favorite, but I'm happy to pick apart your shit and knock you down a few notches if you want. Sorry, just be an asshole. But that's fun too. I will offer that as well. But anywho, this is coming on, and you can see like how fast that happens too. Let's do a little bit more. Zoom back in. I'll keep going a little bit. Let's get all this weathered up in here. So yeah, hopefully that kind of, it's a good day today. We talked about the E100 history. That was pretty fun. It's going to be cool to kind of get back on that. It's been long enough for me to kind of, any kind of residual bullshit from that one. It's nice in the past now, and I don't have to worry about it. So everything's cool and everything's calm. All the Chinese I think the Chinese are doing a pretty good job now. All the various model companies, they've been really like, on point, providing us with good stuff. So no complaints from me on that area. You know what I'm saying? Like I got nothing to bitch about now. So the weather's turned. I can't even bitch about the weather anymore. Oof. My team lost today. I can bitch about that. I think that's going to be a wake up for the Steelers. I don't think Big Ben's going to last the season. He took some hits earlier this morning. I'm like, dude, you are not going to survive the season. Like you were just like, he got up like the old man he is. I was like, oof, that had to hurt. Here's your classic pin wash, just kind of going around those details. Let's see how wet that is. It's probably too wet. But let's kind of dust this out this way. And I can probably, now that that's gonna, actually that's got a nice residual. Let's put a little, the dust is gonna collect behind that sight. Put some in there, diffuse that up in there like that. But yeah, no, it's all good, guys. Everything's going well. I'm pretty happy in terms of what's going on. Like, I was concerned. So my concerns are, just so you guys are, just if you give a shit, I don't know if you do or not, but if you do, my concerns are the workload. You know, I have to be really conscious of my workload. And I think the live streams kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone, which has turned out to be a blessing. When I started YouTube, I was apprehensive about how much this would time-wise take up. But I think this has turned into a really good thing. Provides you guys with what you need to see. It really bolsters the books, which is one of my, you know, that's my priority. Everything I'm doing is a priority for the books. You know, the printer is tomorrow, Monday. We'll talk to her again. The first 3 are a couple weeks away now, so I'm excited about that. Doesn't seem like we're going to have any real issues with shipping right now in terms of moving the books from the printer to our warehouse in Europe. So I think that'll go smooth. So that's what I'm seeing. We're waiting on some additional paper stock for the SM book covers for SM4, TG1 and 2. So we're just printing what we can print right now. That's already kind of underway, and get that done, get that into your hands. And then we'll move into the next round of SM4 and Tank Art 2 on the heels of these 3 coming, which is SM2, 3, and Tank Art 1. And that's just how that happened. The order happened to go with what the files they had on hand and what they were doing on there. And so I didn't really, they're all coming, so I didn't really care too much per se. In other words, just get them done. And that was the order in which they were set for it. So we agreed to it. And what else? And then towards Christmas, we'll probably start getting into SM5 and 6. And I think what will happen timing-wise, which will work out pretty well, is the aircraft. I think what you'll see is this is mid-September, starting the last few weeks of September. We'll wrap up September pretty fast as time is flying. F off, my friends. It is just crazy nuts. But what we'll probably do is in October-ish is probably start introducing the aircraft project I have planned for streams. And then that'll lead into the release of SM6, the Yoo-Hoo aircraft in that one, which is the first aircraft book from RSP. So I'm excited about all that. And then going into next year, this will be cool. I think we're going to have the next 3 months will blow by. You guys will watch this. We'll be in Christmas time in a week. Your kids will be in high school in a week. And then those of you that just had kids and babies will be in college next year. Like, that's how fast it's going. This is just nuts. And then what we will do is in 2022, I think we'll be able to really have, I think the COVID issues, bullshits will be mitigated. You know, I think Australia and all you guys that are still facing strong lockdowns and stuff, will hopefully everything will be kind of fixed by then. So that's kind of the game plan. You know, really happy to have you guys around, to be honest with you. I look forward to these streams, to be honest with you guys. I really do. It was really nice just to wake up, have some coffee, watch some football, and I know I get to paint and weather and stream with you guys today. So it was really cool. So yeah, I look forward to all this. I think this is working out well. So don't expect any major changes to the format. I think we're in a really good spot right now. You can see I'm just trying to get some of that. There's this rod. See how that lifts off that ledge right there? So I'm kind of just being real careful. And it looks a little strong on camera because that's still wet in there. So that has to dry out a little bit. But I'm not trying to mess with it too much right now. I'm kind of let that dry naturally. But I'm kind of working the brush angle through that little bit of a, and I put that, I built that up. I drilled that hole out and I put that rod in there and pushed it down there. It's just to add a little bit of surface detail to this pretty plain. And that upper rod I put on there as well, just to add a little bit of detail. And then I've got a drilled hole here and a drill hole here and here. And I have an option to add another power cord line onto this. I've added this line here. And this is a rubberized wire. I think Bandai puts these in some of their kits. So that's just a general, and you can find this at any hobby shop or anything like that sells kind of doodads, Nixon, whatever, and Griblies and all that crap. Just a rubberized copper wire right there. This is part of the kit. The sight's part of the kit. There's glass lenses for these that I'll put in later on. So I'm just trying to, just minor details. I put some minor rivets. You see these little rivets by the brush head there? I use the punch and all thingy, whatever the, what is this, the beading, the jewelry thing? This guy, I'm just kind of recapping real quick for you guys. Oh, come on. My finger. There it goes. You can see it's just got a little bit of a, these are the from jewelry beading tools. I forget the actual name again. The awls. They're kind of like a leather punch awl, but what I did was, and I do this into the primer in the paint. You can do, it's a really nice little technique. If you need some, see those little rivets there? That's what it looks like. You get that kind of ball rivet in the center, right there. And all that's all added by me. Those little, you get that little dome rivet. So yeah, that's how those go in there. Got a little dust crap in there. Get off. But see, what I really like about this process, and it's a little bit, and I like it. It looks a little painterly, a little illustration-like. I like that quality to this, especially as you zoom in. I mean, this is. You're not going to see this too much. A camera will pick up a lot of this, but when you see it with the naked eye, I'm kind of streaking that in there a little bit. Just kind of cleaning that up a little bit. Just knocking that edge down. And as you guys recall, as I'm jumping around a little bit, when you're blending this, kind of the light's really catching the chlorophyll. That's what it looks like. It's not quite so, it looked like super white right there. I'm like, no, it's not that bright. When I blend stuff, it's a little tidbit here, and we'll wrap it up here. As I'm pulling this blender brush down, it's a little splayed right now. Let me spin it up a little bit. As I'm pulling from the edges of the oils that I put down, so I don't go into the heart of the middle part of that oil paint that I put down. I blend around the edges, and see how I didn't touch that where I'm pointing at right there. I don't touch it at all. Blend around it. And that's how you leave that. That's how you create that look right there. Same as over here. If you remember when I put that down, if you go back and watch that, I didn't really touch too much in here too much in the beginning. I softened up a little bit, but I just kind of blended out from there. And that leaves the opacity up in there. Same in here. I left that up in there, and I'm blending from the lower edges. Again, and what you can do is you come back in here with the dry brushing. See how underneath right there, we'll come back in with our little dark brown and black combo here. A little hint of green. The smidge of green, and then I'll answer up the final questions and sign off here a little bit. We're almost done for today, and we'll be back on Wednesday. So hopefully this time slot worked out for you guys. I liked it. I might push it to 1:30 next week so I can really watch the last 10 minutes of all the football games in the morning. So I apologize for that. So it may be a 1:30 start next Sunday, so don't be surprised. Just doing a little dark dry brushing down there on the edge just to clean it up before I sign off on this session. And this is the beauty of OPR, is that you can go from session to session, and you just want to find a nice finishing spot, if you will. And that way, when you come back the next time, you can just jump right in. Turn off camera a little bit. Just the subtleties of all that. It's a really fun, enjoyable process. I hope you guys dive in more and more. Yeah, it's a good stopping spot right there. Everything looks good. It's good. A little bit of something under here. Let me get it. Clean that up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, okay, I can stop there. Yeah, good day. All right, let's go. What do we got? Do the all. Yeah, it's an all. Make the outer ring as well. Yeah, it does. 40 foot, it does. That's what's really nice about that. This little device, and they come in a bunch of sizes. I don't even know if it's marked on here. It's not. But these are for jewelry beading and stuff of that ilk, I think. But they're perfect. Like if you wanted to rivet your own plane surfaces for aircraft guys, I have the Rosie the Riveter. I have those tools as well. But this type of look gives you, especially for fasteners of this nature, it really gets. So you push it into the primer to the paint. It's a little bit easier than trying to push that into the plastic or resin, and it gives you that little bit of a dome rivet in the center with that little bit of that circular edge on the outside. And it's just a push and twist, and it's super easy. And these are fairly sharp, So they'll hold up well. I find it easier to do that into a primer surface because you just need a little bit of it, fasteners and all that stuff. It's like you just need the you need that, just that impression, if you will. You don't need the, you could do it in the plastic up front. You could really do it if you wanted to. I did miss your. I'm wondering, how did you fabricate the tape? It's just Tamiya tape, thin pieces of Tamiya tape wrapped around a drop of super glue to this little dilly dab of super glue, and then I hand painted that pale green color. So it's just your it's just thin strips of your Japanese Tamiya tape. Any of it will work, and I just cut really thin strips, like 1/16 of an inch wide, and then wrapped it around. That's all I do. Football, you bet. You got it. I know Micromark makes some little doodads that are very similar to that as far as riveter. Yeah, and I think I bought this off of eBay, and I believe I'll do my homework and I'll put a proper name, and I'll add this to this tool description in the video, guys. I use it I don't use it often. It is slow. So if you're gonna aircraft rivet something, a plane surface, it's your fasteners. It's gonna be, all of that. So, but it does work really well. Take your time, all that kind of fun stuff. And I put a little pencil dot where I want to do it, and you just a little twist, and then it gives you that surface really quick. I like the painterly look as well. Sometimes I go between really precise precision work and then kind of with the Gundam stuff because of the scale. I think the painterly illustration look, the box art painting look, if you will, there's a nice play to that. And I'm also looking personally to develop some of my artistic painting styles out from what you guys are used to seeing, because I'm in that mode. I can tell the creative juices are flowing where I think I really want to pursue, like when I was hand painting the little Gundam piece in the Mechatro kit, where we're doing some of that stuff on that little robot stuff. Really kind of in the mode now of trying to introduce kind of more painterly styles into my own work personally, and maybe as I do other subjects, even the railroad stuff, it was kind of cool. You get kind of that vibe, whereas some of the armor is a little bit more historically precision work. So it's kind of the blend of the two ideas, if you will, and that's just kind of sharing that with you guys. Aircraft with an engine, great to see how you weather engines. Yeah, we'll get to some engine work too. I do have some stuff. I have the Thunder model tractor, one of them. I forget which one it is. I don't know if it's not the Lang Bulldog. It's just one of the little army tractors that Thunder model did. And I have a couple civilian vehicles now that have exposures like that of the inner workings. We'll get into. I definitely want to do more civilian stuff in the future, so probably not immediately, but aircraft will probably be the next major one past the Tamiya Cromwell in terms of the stream in here. Let's take a look. This is dry for a minute now, so we can see. Because there will be a little bit of touch-up work. See how it kind of separates and cracks a little bit. So I'll have to touch up those cracks right there in the snow. And that's just all I have to add. So see where it's dry to the edge of the paint. So I'll have to come in and touch up. I'll use a little oil paint. And I'll come in and I'll touch up that. Again, we'll go over this in the future as this model is getting the near completion. We'll continue on with that. And then let's take a look through. But the snow elements themselves, to recap the stream a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm fairly happy with that, actually. And then probably what I'll do is once these are on and mounted and stuff like that, is kind of that I like the idea of snow effects personally. This is a personal take on mine, style of stuff, of just kind of that really frozen tundra where it's not like muddy, wet, muddy, just a mess. Never been a fan of the wet mud look on my scale models. It's a very personal thing, just because I just don't like it. But yeah, so I kind of go. Matt Bryan, got to go. What a pleasure. Yep, you're good. Thank you for coming through. Sylvain, simulate the tape. Yep, it's me a tape. Got you there. Follow what's in your head. There's no right or wrong in the finished product. It's also, yeah, very, very much. Most of this is subjective. And I try to play that with critiques. I try to play that with product interpretations in terms of what's available in the hobby, paint conversations, even the more contentious ones. A lot of it is subjective, truth be told. So what is Drew's? That might be a little bit. It's like the big picture's focus, but detail level change when the. So what you're talking about, Drew Wheeler, is actually a good point, because it's something I was talking about a few minutes ago. We're this one in particular, we're at like the 95 percentile range, and then pushing your model through the last 5% is kind of a little bit of that commentary about focusing in, hammering out the final details, what those will look like, the execution of that, the mental, okay, what do I really want to look like, so you're satisfied as the author of the piece before you either take pictures of it or Instagram it or compete with it. those are important elements to it. It's always been that last nugget. The work. One of the major changes I had was the work on a scale model from the painting stage forward through all the weathering. That 90 percentile that saved from when it's built to where it's primed to where it's painted, the markings, chips, and then the initial weathering to like the 90% point. It was a really static process, and it was always that last 10% to get to the end of it was always like, that's the real challenge. The separation of the men from the boys was at 90% to the 100%. That's the trick of all of this. I really firmly believe what I discovered through the demo process and seminars I was given around the world, like Hornet Hobbies, the ones in Europe, Belgium seminars, Mosen, those seminars. What I learned from that for myself was the OPR process going from 0 to 100 on the weathering. That 90 to 100% gap that I was never getting before until the final part of the model was I was able to finalize that. As you see, like here, I'll just use this as an example again. But when you're going through the weathering process, and that's 100% finished engine deck down there, kind of a thing. You see what happens. That changes your mental scope of the project in terms of how you get to that bridge. That's the most mental block that you'll have as a model builder. Like that'll be your biggest hurdle to achieve that, to get to that part. That's where all this OPR conversation came in handy. This is where all that kind of fleshing out of, I can see now, even on a single piece like a wheel, the whole entire thing. And I'm not waiting around for that anymore. That happens on the sessions, even though we're streaming it. It happens on my desk live. And that commentary, I hope it comes off as powerful, because it changed the entire course of my scale modeling, because I can find out that 90 to 100%, that final bit, truth be told, it's where it all happens. So hopefully that kind of gets across to you guys too. But yeah, question: since the weapon is a bazooka, how would you weather the residual blast of the muslin pigments? So Arnell, these are a beam weapon, like a lightsaber, like a Star Wars beam weapon. So you're probably going to get a little bit of a heat discoloration because you're putting out like a hot plasma blast. So it's not a shell with ammunition conversation per se. This guy being so you have the kinetic energy conversation, Arnell, and then which would be this guy, and you'd weather that like any other kinetic energy type weapon. It would be maintained. Every ammo since what, World War II, World War I-ish are smokeless. So you don't really have the black muzzle blast stuff. That doesn't really happen. It's kind of fake. At least not in modern times anyway. At least not since flintlocks, right? You guys know better than me. But yeah, I play that up as just it's just a maintained, cleaned weapon system, as a soldier has to go and clean his weapon, and that's what it's going to be done. And in this case, it'll be little tiny dudes in 1/44 scale. We'll be cleaning that up a little bit, so you get kind of a polished, sharp edge, a little bit, that kind of a thing. When you look at the end of your rifles, the end of your pistols, kind of that look. I wouldn't think past it too much. And when you start doing the funny pigment stuff of that, you just kind of get into the cartoon realm, and that's I don't think that plays really well. Thank you, Zal. I appreciate that. You're a good guy. I appreciate that. Thanks, Mike. Delighted to catch a stream last Sunday for the foreseeable future. Business picking up. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Julian, right? Is that the name? Is that the right customer? Not to call you out, but thank you though. 40 foot. I really enjoyed the whole process. Cheers, chat. Enjoy your Sangiovese. I hope you finish the bottle today. Question: since the web is a boost. Okay, we got that. Cool. Pigments. Nope. Got that. Sylvain. Cool. Thank you for all the questions, guys. Marino says, I like the painter look. I've seen some builds of Japanese. Yeah, and it is part of that too. I'm heavily influenced by the our boy Kodakai and Chris Pabs and those that have come through from the Gundam world. You get heavily influenced by what the Japanese do in the general context of everything. It's really interesting stuff. Instagram's wonderful. Any other last questions here? We are right at the 3-hour mark. We are on time, guys. This one felt like it went like a smooth stream to me. I didn't feel discombobulated, which is sometimes how I feel. Then I go back and watch. I'm like, it's no big deal. But anyway, appreciate everybody. Any final questions here before we sign off? We will see you Wednesday. We're sticking to the 3 o'clock Pacific time frame, which is working pretty well on my side for Wednesdays. O-line is brutal. We've got to run the ball much better. Larry Russo, who are you rooting for, brother? Oh, you're a Steeler guy. Yeah. We didn't look like we played very well, to be honest with you. But I think the Raiders are a legit team too. I think that they're a tough team to play. So it's a combination of the two. But it sucks to lose home. And Steelers always lose their home opener, or not always, but we haven't always been the best with our home openers. Old school, Mr. Miyagi, focus. Yep. Wax on, wax off, Danielson. What else? Everybody good? Any final questions here? Let's see, what do we got? There is some good stuff happening on the Gundam side. I've got some partnerships going on with some of my mutual friends in that world. So there is some cool stuff going to be happening in the future. Some collabs, if you will. Can't wait to see the aircraft. Bonsoir. Yeah, thank you, Fancarello29. I appreciate that too. I'm excited to finally do some aircraft stuff. I think the piece I've got to start with will be, hit all they'll check most of the boxes for most of you, I hope. Cheat a lot. Great work, Mike. Just off of work, managed to catch last minute. No, awesome, man. Well, you got something to scroll back through. Eugene in Siberia, you're off to work. So you have a good day. Thank you for coming in, and I appreciate my friends around the world. If there's the single best thing about the entire process of what I do is the international connections are great. Nog and the Nog, where are you at? You have a good Monday too, my friend James Lynn. Thank you, Darren Tour. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate your support. TC, you're welcome, my friend. And to the All Black fans, you guys are awesome. What else? Everybody good? All right, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go watch the afternoon game, the evening Sunday game. I have dinner. See you on the socials, all that good stuff. Pete Tui, you have a good day in DC. Take care. Keep that city safe, my friend. I got some good friends there, so I know you guys got a busy week coming up. What else is going on? Fall. Enjoy the turning of the leaves. Everything else. Patty cakes, everybody. Yep, can't wait for aircraft. It'll be good times. So yeah, expect the next couple streams will be wrapping up the StuG once and for all. Now that we got the snow in today, I'll push on that. We'll get that out. I'll throw some snaps up for you guys this week on the social, so you guys can check that out on Facebook and Instagram and all that. You can get a good look. I'll pull the big Nikon out. I'll take some good photos of that. Robert, how are my Polish friends? You have a wonderful evening and week ahead, and then. Yeah, I expect the Dom Tropin will get into some actual Gundam weathering after these weapons. This is almost done. What else? Yeah, I think we're good to go. And then I'll probably throw out a newsletter as soon as we get a date on the shipping from the printer for the first round of books. I'll probably throw up the first newsletter in the last few weeks on that. And then, of course, the Patreon guys that you've joined in that's a big thank you. That's a personal thank you, of course. But we're going to do some exclusive cool shit on Patreon as well. So yeah, all good. iPhone's coming in a few weeks, so we'll get a better camera. Yeah, everybody. So did I catch any last questions? If not, I'll throw anything that you guys want to know. You're always welcome to put comments down below every stream or whatever. You know, obviously I'm trying to do my job pretty well. But anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for everybody hanging out with me today. Another good show, another chill show. Literally because we did snow. So, all right, guys, we'll see you Wednesday. Take care.